Let's go.
There will be few things with Hot Wheels. Like if I get to a point where I'm like, they always say, don't release like company secrets. So there's things I can say and there's things that I can't say.
Sure.
But if we get to that point, I'll just say I can't say.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
But I'm gonna pry as hard as I can because like there's so many cool things going on right here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank
you for coming.
Yeah,
man.
I'm glad.
This is awesome.
I'm really excited to be here. I did give him pictures.
Okay, cool.
Yep. If they come up, they come up. If they don't, they don't. So but I might just say the picture of the number 12 car or the 33 car. Is that okay to say that?
100%. Yeah, yeah. So we'll pull up pretty much anything. I mean, there's so many things, especially with the school being online. Yeah. I think it only makes sense to, at some point we're going to kind of bring it up and just kind of go through it a little bit and just, I don't know. I'm excited because you're kind of a unique guest for us. Not kind of. You're a very unique guest for us.
Okay.
Because one side, it fits really well, right? Like you're a graphics guy.
Yeah.
Right? And we're in the graphics industry. Specifically, for us, it's in racing. But then like the other side of that, well, even on that, still saying that. So we kind of, there's a little connection there.
Yeah.
Right? But the Hot Wheels thing is on a whole nother level. Like, I don't even know, like, I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Just because it's kind of, I don't know, it's cool, but it is relevant to what we do. I don't know.
And it is a lot of times, even with printing, and I know you want to save some of this for later, so I'll say it again if I need to.
No, you're fine.
This is actually the same process goes into it, and how you have to think about post-processing and how's the next guy receiving the file and how's he going to interpret it and how's he going to prepare it. It isn't just like, oh, look, like my father-in-law's like, that would be easy to do. I could do that. I'm like, no, there's a process involved here that goes beyond I splashed a couple graphics on a 132 scale car.
Does he feel the same way? Like if he was to see a vehicle wrapped out on the street, does he feel the same way?
No. And I know that he's not trying to like get at me at all. I think he's just saying, yeah, that's not so hard to do.
Right.
But he really appreciates that I do it. I mean,
well, it's interesting because the size, I don't know why the size, because I feel the exact same way. Like your average person would look at this and say, oh, okay, that's easy. Yeah, I could probably pull that off. But it's the exact same, like you're saying,
the process is important.
It has to be the same process, right?
Yeah.
So manufacturing wise, how does it work? How do they do it?
Are we live right now?
Yeah. Well, we're rolling. Yeah.
Oh, we are rolling. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So I can't say how they do it.
Okay.
So they sent me a video on how it's done. And he said, don't ever show this video to anybody. So I was like, okay.
Okay. As far as like setting up and stuff, you're saying that's a relatively similar process, correct?
Yeah. As far as the files go.
Yeah. So you'll know the shape of the car.
Yeah.
You have to know the shape of the car, right?
Yep. They send me 5 images for each car. So the front, back, both sides, and the top.
Okay.
And then the design goes on. You design for all the sides.
Okay. So as far as that part is done, like, so you'll do that and then you'll send that off to the next guy.
Yeah. And the lead designer at Hot Wheels. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that, you say, is this off the cuff? Like, is this full custom? Like they hand you a project? I mean, some of them have to be specific, right? Like you started talking about that a little bit about some of the licensing and like, is that what you said? What did you say?
Yeah, licensed cars.
A licensed car, yeah.
Chevy, Mustang, Ford, and
Josh, you were getting ready. Did you see this? Did you see what he brought us?
I can see it though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I see it.
Let me hold it up. So you can see it.
I can see it very clearly.
Here, do this. I really like this one because it's got the Dodge. It's got the Daytona.
So are you a Hot Wheels guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody.
I mean, I think that's like an obvious question.
Everybody is a Hot Wheels person, I think. So
yeah, how are you not, right? Okay, that's fair. But you were saying, okay, so there's licensed cars here, right? So some of these, the design is kind of premeditated, like they know going in, like this car has to look like this.
Yeah.
And so they send you photos of that car and then you just redesign that car. How does that work?
No, they want me to do research and they want me to be creative. And so they do want me to surprise them, but at the same time, like there's been times where I've sent them something and they're like, would you really ever see that? What you just did, what your creation, would you see that on like a Dodge Daytona that was like rolling down the street? And I'm like, I've never seen a Dodge Daytona roll down the street. Anyway, but they would ask that question. Like, hey, if this isn't something you feel like you would actually see on a Camaro, then like, let's refrain from doing that. So do something that, and this is the difficulty, is like, okay, I got to do something that I would have seen, but it does have to be unique, and I can't copy something that's out there.
So it's funny that you say that. So I started rapping when I was a kid. I started doing graphics when I was a kid. And you would get guys that came. We had this guy, his name was Donnie Nall. He still races to this day. He's an old fat guy now, but he was really good, right?
Okay.
And he was the guy. Everybody's watching Donnie, right? Every move he makes. So when guys would come in to our little sign shop or whatever, they would say, "Hey, I want exactly what Donnie's got, but different." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like I struggled with that so much because it was like, all right, so you want no same colors? All right. Well, it's kind of hard, what about the design? Yeah, no, very similar design.
Yeah.
But I want it for me. I want it to be me. Like, oh, so you just want me to change the numbers. That's what you want to just change the numbers. So I imagine that it's like a similar process for you, right? Because there's part of you, like, are you creative? Like, is that like the artist part of you? Like, is that?
You do. You want to do what you can that's unique, always, because that should just be the conviction of everybody who's creating anything in any industry. So there's a part of you, your pride kicks in, and then your uncertainty about yourself kicks in. So there's all those different things that are happening. So like even this, you look at this Mopar car. This is not anything new under the sun as far as Mopar goes. If we were back in 2009, you could look at Casey Kane's car and say that's very similar to what was on Casey Kane's car, but it meets the standard for the brand and it fits the casting, so it works. Now, is it the exact same as Casey Kane's? It's not, but it's similar to the drag cars at that time and all of that, and the era of, I don't remember exactly what year this car is. So you just think that way. So in that one, I'm kind of locked in. Like I know what I'm going to do, and it's not going to be it's going to be similar to what was happening there, but it's not going to be the same. And then other instances, they're like this Dodge. I don't even know what this is. I think they call it the Little Red Wagon or Little Red Express or something like that. They're going to say, research trucks from around that time, like that when that era, and like see what's on them and like what do the lines look like and what are the colors and then try to push boundaries. They'll say always push boundaries. And
do you have a favorite? You have like a
favorite casting?
Yeah, like your like. First, let me ask this: are all these ones that you did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, are there ones that you're not doing? Like, are there other people like you out there doing this similar thing?
I don't know exactly how many there are. I think there's five or six.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Few of them are at headquarters, and then there's maybe one or two that are independent, like I am.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but these are you done all these?
I did all these. Yeah.
And so, favorite. Do you have a favorite?
I got a backpack with my favorite in it.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't have. It's not in the case. I'm going to give it to you guys, and then I'll tell you kind of the story behind it.
Let's go. Yeah. I felt like I could smell it. I knew it. I knew it was there. Knew it was coming. How awesome is this? So, what makes it your favorite? What's the story?
The surprising amount of money that it's worth after it got casted. That's not it. So if you go on eBay right now and you look for this car, it was an NFT. It was released as an NFT
through Hot Wheels.
Through Hot Wheels, they were doing NFTs, and then they would have what you would call a treasure hunt. If you ever know what a treasure hunt is? Treasure hunt is like if you find a treasure hunt in the store, you buy it. But you're going to get it at price, but it's going to be a collector's. It's probably worth at least $25. So you could buy it for $1 and you just made, I don't know, $24.
So I've been watching some videos on this. Like it's a real, like people invest this way.
Yeah.
Like this is oh, that's sick. Yeah, that's cool. So I feel like I've seen this before.
You might have. Yeah, it was.
Can you hold it up to the
No, this is just for me.
To the middle camera.
So can you see it? Good?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Nice little shot. Okay. So continue. Sorry.
So we were doing last year. I was designing NFTs for them. So you design it knowing that it's going to be released as a digital 3D animated kind of thing that people could buy. I still don't understand NFTs. To be honest, when somebody tries to explain to me, I'm like, I don't get it, but I'm making them. So
well, I don't know if I've ever thought about it like that. There being there's a digital asset, right? There's the
digital license and an asset,
and then a physical.
Yeah.
I've never thought about there being a physical of that. So if you think of like paintings, right? Like that was a big thing. So or even in music, you would have the recording of the item, but then they would sell off like
the master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this instance, they were doing the digital, and then they were making rare versions of the casting on just particular ones. Not every NFT got a physical version. So this is one of the ones that did, and it was released last year. And you know, to me, I'm just this is what I'm doing every day. I'm like opening up castings and I'm designing things, and I'm like, yeah, do a pinstripe one on this one. And it actually, when I originally designed it, I had pinstripes on the top and pinstripes on the tank or on the trunk. And they removed it and they put the white cap on it. And so that was headquarters contribution to it.
Gotcha.
And so anyway, and then they release it and it starts selling, and then it's on eBay and people are like selling it for like $700 and $1,000. And there was a minute where it was up to like $2,000. And so it became like this, like everybody wants this, like
So they were
casting.
buying the physical.
They were buying the physical one for
physical
that
one.
much. Yeah, you could
So
buy
what's a run? Like a run of these, like would that be like 200, 500, 1,000?
I actually wouldn't. I actually don't know how many they made of that. But that would be this would be more of a rare one.
Okay.
And you can see here it says on the back it says NFT TH, which means it's a treasure hunt.
Okay. Okay.
So what ends up happening with a treasure hunt? Typically, it'll just say TH, and it'll just stands for treasure hunt.
Got it. Yeah, it says NFTH. Sure enough.
So if you find something like that in the store, you're really lucky. Because what guys do that are looking for those, they show up the day at like Walmart or Target or Dollar General, and they want the cars. They want to see them as they're coming out of the packed boxes, and they want to pick through them for the treasure hunters, just looking for a treasure hunt. And that doesn't even mean they're going to find one. They're just looking for them. That's how intense these guys are that want those. And that's just one of many treasure hunts that exist.
So how often do they do a treasure hunt? Is it so many per year or something?
Yeah,
or?
I don't know that. I don't know the number, but
Sure.
it's so many per year.
Yeah.
So this is the first treasure hunt that I ever did, which was my favorite before that one became my favorite. And this one's from a couple years ago. Similar style with the pinstripes.
Very cool.
And this is when I would say headquarters or Hot Wheels headquarters was really starting to trust me as a designer.
This is sick. This is kind of cool. I don't know if you can see that, Lambert. That coming in pretty clear.
Yeah.
So up until this point, I was designing a lot of more like the kid centric stuff. So the X Racers and like, you know, we're going to do a pack about like aliens or, you know, whatever. And so it would be something like that, and which is still fun. I still love doing it. It's Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
But my favorite is to obviously do the licensed cars. It's just, you know, what I'm into. And
I would think there's like a trust,
There
like
is.
a level of trust there. Like initially they would let you like, okay, you can do these, do a good job at these, and then you can kind of graduate. I would assume that there's a peak to that. And these got to be close to the tippy top. I mean, especially the NFT versions, right? Because that seems like even more rare. And it's weird.
Just to interject, sorry.
Yeah,
There's a complete set for $4,000 on eBay right now.
Complete set of what?
Probably comes in the box and the package.
Hot Wheels Garage Series 1 complete set.
Oh, okay.
NFTH brand new rare. Yeah, it's packaged in the box.
Can you bring it up? I want to see it.
Hang on.
I'm going to open these ones up.
So when you buy an NFT, this is how they're coming? Is that what you're telling me?
It'll be in a box and then in a plastic package inside of the box.
Got it. That's kind of cool,
And
too.
there's 16 people watching that right now. So
I hear what you're saying. So you're saying there's 16 people out there that are like, I need to pull the trigger on this.
that's pretty
fun.
gnarly.
That is cool. This has like some real Cheerwine vibes to it. I don't know if you're familiar with Cheerwine. So it's a soda pop out here. It was made in Salisbury.
Okay.
Anyway, it just looks like a Cheerwine truck. I don't know why, but anyway, that's a.
If you look close at it, so like the way we do it is we can pick 4 colors essentially for every side.
Okay.
So it can be hit with 4 inks. They call it tampo hitting. And It's the same process that you would use for like the labels that are on your radio in your car.
Okay.
So it's the same exact kind of a thing.
Okay.
But you can see here, there's it looks like it's like scratched, but that's actually part of the design. That's a patina that I designed into it so that where they polished it over here, it's actually polished, but then it actually looks like the truck has like some paint coming off of it. And so that's actually intentional. It's not just that it's an older casting that sat in a toy box and like rattled against other cars. I love those types of details and being able to figure out how to do that kind of a thing where, you know, even at that scale, there's a little bit of a realism to it.
Sure. Yeah. We talk about it when they do the racing things, right? Like so like on the 24 car, we when we wrapped the front end, there were some mistakes that we made. And we made them intentionally. Like we knew what we were doing. And if you look at the angles of it, you'll probably appreciate this. So if you look at the angle that the stripe comes across the front, where the stripe on the front and the side come together, they're kind of
a little bit staggered.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had to do it that way, right? Because that stripe, they wanted this where the two panels came together, where we seamed them together.
Okay.
They wanted it higher, and they wanted to make sure that stripe didn't fall under the headlight. So we didn't have a choice, right? This was lower. It had to hit here, and this had to hit here, and that's just it is
the way it is.
Yeah, it just had to be that way. So when they make these, that little detail is in there.
That's so
now
cool.
your average person would never know that, right?
No.
They're just looking at it and they're super excited that they think it's cool, but
yeah.
I know it. You know, there's just little. I mean, it's crazy how accurate they are.
It's amazing. So that comes down from corporate. Corporate's like, hey, we want you to make this like this. Is that what happened?
Honestly, I don't know. This is the closest. Talking with you is the closest that I've ever gotten to really understanding how this works, because we've seen some really cool, very accurate cars over the years. That's like, how the hell did they do that? How did, you know what I mean? Like, and so just hearing you talk about like how you're, it's nice to know that somebody's putting in that effort, and it's not just for whatever reason, I don't know if I've just never really thought about it. I would just have thought maybe this was after the fact, like maybe they scuffed this intentionally somehow, or I wouldn't have thought that it was built in. It sounds kind of obvious now after you say it, right? But,
it's like the magic trick is gone.
Sure, but that's kind of cool, right? Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I want to dive a little bit into the history of this, because how do you even get into this?
Yeah.
Because you're in Missouri, right?
Yep, Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. So, and is it Mattel? Is that right?
Yeah, Mattel.
Mattel.
Yep.
Are they anywhere close to you?
No,
or
they're in Segunda. I think you pronounce it Segunda, California.
California.
Or that's where they started. I don't know that that's the city they're in now, but it's California for sure.
And has it always been Hot Wheels? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so those two things are
yeah.
Okay. So how did you get into it? How does a guy from Missouri start?
It's a long story. Do you want the long story, or do you want the how did my career get to the?
I'm game for either one.
Okay.
We just had a podcast not long ago go for 4 hours. So whatever
people watched it,
whatever you're comfortable with, trust me, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't posted them yet, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the short story, and then maybe we can backtrack later.
Yeah.
So I have a website, srgfx.com, where I sell design assets to basically graphic companies and wrap companies, and I've been doing that since 2011. I was a web developer before that. I was doing web development and graphic design, but most of what I was doing was like for churches. Like I was hired by a pastor, and I was like making his PowerPoint presentations, and he was like giving me like $25 to like make his weekly PowerPoint. And then I was just learning how to do web development, just sitting at home learning it. And I got hired by a company to start developing websites. And then my timeline's a little bit iffy, but me and my wife got pregnant. And I just got this idea. I'm like, I just need to take my web development skills and match them with my passion for racing. Because I was doing like graphics on the side, like but not like a full-time thing, and it was kind of like here and there. And I just had like one wrap company that was like 30 minutes from me, and I'm like, let me just do some stuff every once in a while.
So designing for a race car, it can be pretty intense. You kind of need to be skilled at designing. So where did you cut your teeth? Where did you get your it wasn't designing for churches and websites and stuff like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And nothing against those places, but I mean, it's a big difference. There's a big difference between, designing, especially some of these kid ones. Like it's funny because like that sounds like it's not complicated, but these are not the most basic designs.
Right.
Like this is pretty intriicate design.
Yeah.
And so where did you, like, just because you were an enthusiast
that doesn't qualify anybody.
There's plenty of people out there that love this shit that have wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right. So I was driving. I moved to Springfield, Missouri in 2002. Went to Bible college for one semester. Dropped out. Was playing Dirt Track Racing 2 on my computer while going to school there. You guys know that game?
Oh,
Dirt Track Racing. Okay.
100%.
So, dude, I was hardcore into it. Had my own website, painting skins, doing all kinds of stuff. But I was using I think it was called just Paint Shop Pro.
Okay.
Right. So not anything that's going to ever like excel your career in any kind of a way. But I would just sit up there and like just paint after paint after paint, just learning like, oh, what looks good on cars, what's good contrast, what's good colors, and just taught myself a lot of it.
That's so cool.
And so I had a website. I was called Jen Lee's Skins because I was really into the General Lee car.
So you were making that. You were you were making so many different designs that and what year was this? You say 2002?
2002, 2003.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Because now it's more of a thing, right? Like you've got guys that are on iRacing that are doing that essential.
Oh yeah, and they get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned getting paid for it back then, man. I was shunned. It was like, I was shamed really hard. I was like, okay, I'll keep doing it for free, I guess. And I like doing it. So it was like a hobby. So I was going to school and I was doing that and just had met my wife. She wasn't my wife yet. And but anyway, I ended up dropping out of school, moved back to Wisconsin for just a short stint, saved up some money, came back to Springfield, got a job at Airgas, filling oxygen, nitrogen, driving forklift. And listen, this is not the job that I wanted to have.
Sure.
So I'm like, I want to be a graphic designer. This is what I want to do.
I wouldn't have pinned you for a certified forklift operator.
I am. So I'm working second shift, which is also a bummer. And filling, you just roll these big bottles out and you line them up and fill them up. We would fill up the nitrogen for tires for the cup races up in Kansas.
That's cool.
So I was like, yeah, that's the industry I really want to be in. So anyway, I would just be at work and be bummed out. I'm like, man, this is not what I want to be doing. So I took like all these little things that I designed for like random stuff and I printed them out and I put them in a portfolio. And I would just carry it with me and I would go and apply at sign shops. I'd be like, listen, I don't have a lot of experience, but I do have a creative ability and I can learn and I can do this. And I couldn't get a job. I just couldn't find a job. But I would sit at home and just continue to learn. Like I just taught myself Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and just every day, just like learn something new, learn how to process, learn how to organize.
Dude, that's badass.
And so one day I'm working at Airgas and I get the call from an offset print company in Nixon, Missouri. And he calls me up and he's like, yeah, we're down a designer. We're interested in interviewing you. He brings me in and he knows right away I have no experience as far as being in any industry whatsoever. And they're doing all the print work for Branson, Missouri. I don't know if you guys know about Branson, Missouri. It's super high entertainment, Yakov Smirnoff, all that kind of stuff. So they're doing all like the brochures and stuff like that for that. A lot of mailers and things like that. So he brings me in and he's a rough and tumble kind of guy. And he's like, listen, I don't hire rookies, but we're going to give you a chance. He's like, you're a rookie. And he let me know I was a rookie. So I was like, all right, man. So I'm sitting there working, and it was also I thought it would be awesome because it was like I'm getting my teeth cut in graphic design.
Sure.
And so once in a while I would do something kind of interesting. And at the same time, I'm sort of side hustling with this wrap company that's doing race cars, but not enough to like really be in it. Like he's kind of going through his own thing and trying to get himself going, and he didn't have enough for me to like be with him full time.
Gotcha.
So I was doing some work for him, and he was mostly doing vinyl cut. It wasn't even print stuff really. It was like, hey, we got 4 colors we can pick from, and like you got to make these shapes super simple. I was like, all right. So I was doing that, and I'm working for this offset press print company.
So you're getting a little bit of, you're getting your vector in, right? Yeah. Doing your race car stuff, and then you're getting your raster in the evening, or I guess your full-time job.
Yeah.
Creating these images for Branson.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And well, I would like to even say that there was one designer that did the Branson stuff, and then there was a bunch of other like jobs that were not glorious.
Okay.
So we would have a big
you got to start somewhere.
You do. You have to start somewhere, and you got to be humble. And
Yeah.
That's part of the process, is just humbling yourself to be able to learn and be around people and learn how to be around people. And so we had a folder case that hung on the wall with the projects in it, and I'd go pick one, and it was always like a business card for like a doctor, and nothing interesting. It was like, hey, this is going to be one color and his name, and you need to do 50 of these, and we're going to change the names out for all the doctors in the building. So like, This is your job. So you open up Cork. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Cork. It's kind of like InDesign.
Okay.
It is InDesign, but it's not. They do the same thing. It's for like making magazines and like ads for magazines and things like that.
Yep.
So I'm doing these one color business cards, and then when all of the semi-interesting projects were gone. They were like, take this doctor's folder of all these forms, scan them in, and recreate them in Cork. So I'm just sitting there like lining up Helvetica on name, like first name, last name, address. And like, this is my job, you know, and I know I've got creative ability. I'm like, man, just get me on one of these other jobs, man. And eventually they did. They released me onto a job, and I did it well. And the boss there started calling me. He stopped calling me rookie, and he's like, dude, you're the secret weapon here.
Oh,
yeah. So I was like, all right.
I'll tell you, just a quick little story here. When I went to work for Motorsports Designs, I was telling you about it upstairs. When I went to work for Motorsports Designs, I went in, I'm deep rooted racing, right? Yeah. Family's racing. I'm racing. I love racing. That's the name of the company is Motorsports Designs. The first position that they gave me was in Thomas Bus.
Okay.
Thomas Built Bus is like right up the street. It's what was one of their largest customers at the time. All I did was buses all day, every day. I'm talking about just, you know, the text that runs down the side of the bus.
So you're not thrilled.
Oh my God, dude. I was right in between installation and production.
Yeah.
Right. So we had our own Thomas department. It was the worst because I would see all these cool things coming out. Was it? Oh, that's Kevin Harvick's car. Y'all are going to do. Yeah. Watch it go by and go back to the installation bay. And it's like, golly. And they're like, get excited, man. We've got, 487,000 of these railroad crossing decals we got to make for the backs of these buses. This is going to be a great month. And it's just like, Lee, I could not wait to get out of that department.
But it's like in a way you pay your dues that way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's like, it helps your ego. It helps your pride. The things that you think I deserve to be doing. Whatever it is that your dream is to be doing. And you're like, you look back and you're like, I'm really thankful that I had to do those things.
Yep.
Because it really helped me feel like I wasn't awesome, when in a time when I probably didn't need to think I was awesome. And now when people are like, you're so awesome, I'm like, no, I got to carry this with humility, because there's a 12-year-old coming up running on a cracked version of Adobe CS3 right now who's going to be better than all of us. So, just carry whatever success you're having right now with humility, and just be glad for where you're at.
What got you into racing? Were you just a fan, or did you go out to the racetrack?
Yeah. So I'll finish this story with working for this offset press company. Kodak on the Cup website, NASCAR website, they released a nationwide design competition for Ryan Newman.
Okay.
And I ended up winning the competition. It was in 2007. And the newscast, the local news came to my desk at my office and did an interview with me in front of my boss, and all my coworkers are sitting there like, what is happening?
Dude, I bet you were jacked.
I bet
you were pumped,
it was awesome.
Man.
Yeah, it was really awesome. So
what was the competition? Like what did it entail?
They were promoting a new printer that they just came out with. And the competition was called Ink Ryan's Ride. And so they gave you it was like a PDF really of like Ryan Newman's car, but it just had the 12 on it. It was back when he was driving for Penske.
Okay.
And so they're like, just come up with something that would like communicate printers, but it would look fast and it would look cool on a race car. So I
left it kind of vague and to where just creative, just run with it.
So I just used the CMYK colors, and I provided a picture. He's got, it's the number 12 Ryan Newman car.
It's your time to shine.
I was just about to be on. I was just opening Google.
You're just tearing Google up over there trying to find this thing.
It's in that folder that I
got it.
Yeah, okay, you're good. All right. The competition, it was like a public vote, and then Ryan Newman got to vote, and then like some sports TV show got to vote on it. And so, you can see that's like behind the 12, that's my name. It says designed by Raymond Vanderlinden. So this is back in 2007. Now that I look at it, like, there's problems with this design that, you always look back at your work and you're like,
this is so cool.
I would have did this different. But so they flew my wife and I out to California. They put us up in a hotel, and then they gave us a suite on the inside of the track. We sat with all these Kodak people that are like higher ups in Kodak. Got to watch the whole race. Gave us race scanners, and I was secretly like rooting for Tony Stewart the whole time.
So that's fair.
I like Ryan Newman, but
so they ran this design.
This design was ran at that race. Yep.
How old were you?
It was 2007. I'm 43 now. I want to say I was in my mid 20s, 26, 27, 28 maybe.
So go back to that car. Go back to
that other picture.
Yeah. So there's a very, very well. I don't know who, but there's a really good chance that these graphics were produced. Do you know who printed the graphics?
I don't know who printed them. I know that Kodak sent the JPEG design to the print company, and the print company couldn't redo the design. So then Kodak messaged me. They're like, "Hey, can you send us the vector file?"
How cool is that?
And I sent the vector file, and they actually printed straight from my design file.
That is awesome.
So,
dude, I bet when did you know the car was going to be there?
I did. Yeah,
you knew he was going to run.
They knew I knew that I won, and this was the kind of like, hey, when you win, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put your design on the car. We're going to fly you out. We're going to treat you the whole weekend. And this is before I launched my website or anything. So this is 2007. This is about 4 years before I launched SRGFX. And I was like, man, this is what I want to be doing. And I need to figure out a way to get myself into this market. And again, I was doing...
This is a good way to step into it.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a competition that's like for the exact thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
Like you literally went from designing cars on dirt to your next, big accomplishment was having your design on a cup car. That's pretty, especially from Missouri. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's.
So yeah, I mean, I think every designer has that dream of like, it would be really cool to see my own design on a cup car.
For sure.
And I guess for you, that's more normal.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Right. Because I still live in that, like, the humility bug that you referenced, like, I get it all the time. Right. Mm-hmm. I get hit with it all the time, but what it means to me will probably never mean what it means. Nobody will really understand what it means. So, I'll tell you a quick story. Wasn't uncommon when we're wrapping cup cars for them we're kind of the spectacle, right? Everybody's watching. It's kind of cool, right? You're you got a 5 foot by 20 foot panel up, 3 guys, one guy's ripping the back and paper off. It's just kind of dramatic, right? Everybody, so it's kind of everybody's watching. But Hendrick they had these giant windows, huge windows. And so they would put the car right in front of the window. So when people would come in and do tours, they would watch, right? What's great for everybody else in the shop, the guys that are wrapping the cars, they've got 25 people standing there. You feel like a monkey in the zoo, right? The guys are like, hey, it's really cool, So we're doing that. And there wasn't a big crowd that day. And again, you're working in cup shops. So it's not uncommon for Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson or any of these guys come walking through. So Jimmy comes walking through. Jimmy's very professional. He's the best. Yeah. He really is. If I wasn't from Randleman, North Carolina, I would say he's the king. Right? Yeah. But Richard Petty's from the same town. So it's really hard to like pass that title on. But in my opinion, that he's just a stand-up dude. He's just such a great guy. He's very talented. But he came over and he's just kind of hanging out. And I can remember like feeling my heartbeat in my throat. You know what I mean? Like what's he doing here? Mm-hmm. Normally, he's just walking by. But he's just sitting there, and then he just starts chopping it up with us, like just kind of hanging out and just hanging out with the guys,
That's so cool.
And at one point, he's like, "Dude, you got the coolest job." I remember just thinking, like, "What am I missing here? Like, what in the world is going on right now?" You know what I mean? Like, so it's like little moments like that. You can't put a price on it. That you know what I mean? Like that's what I was there for. Yeah. And so yes, you get used to seeing your work on TV, or we always make this joke. People will be, because we can't share a lot. And I'm sure that you run into the same thing, right? Because you're seeing stuff way before everybody else will. And but we can't really, we couldn't really post a lot of pictures and share a lot of pictures. So it was like, if you want to see my work, just watch the race on Sunday. See it all right. So you kind of get used to that feeling, where it's like, but then there's other things on the back end that happen that are just like, wow, dude, that's unbelievable. So it's
humbling,
very humbling, it's pretty awesome. So, but for you to step into something like that, like and I say step into it, you want a competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there were other people out there that were doing the same thing. And I would imagine a lot of them were probably right here. You know what I mean? Just because it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like this area kind of breeds that. Yeah. Like your love of racing, and then this is a big industry for us.
That's right.
Because the cars are right here, we're doing them, So anyway, I think it's cool. So, but I say that, and then it's very specific. You know what I mean? Designing wrap. So I want to hear like what brought up racing? Like what, were you a racer as a kid? Did you just, were you just passionate about it? Like, was there, I mean, there was something that drew you in.
Yeah. So my dad, I would say my dad and my mom. My mom would say she's not, and she wouldn't take credit for any of this, but I have to include my mom because she's just a part of my history and she was always there. So, but yeah, my dad would hitchhike between Fulton, New York and Oswego, New York. And Oswego, New York is the only place that had an asphalt track that ran the super modifieds on a weekly series.
Okay.
And so my dad crewed on a guy from Canada that would drive down to Oswego because that's near Ontario. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the New York area. So it's near Ontario. And Fulton had a dirt track, which I lived a mile from, and then Oswego was 15 minutes away. So I would lived in between like two awesome racetracks.
So you're from New York?
From New York,
okay.
Upstate New York. That's where I grew up until I was 14.
My dad's from Binghamton.
Yeah. How far away is that from like Jersey?
It's north of Newark City.
Okay.
And so it's not quite to the country, but it's right there.
South of Syracuse?
Yeah.
Okay. I should know that better.
I probably should know it better. I should probably. Yeah. I want to say there's a town right before it. I think it's Baytown, but I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. But yeah that's where he's from. So
okay. Awesome.
It's not the greatest place in the world.
Yeah. New York has its pockets.
For sure.
So it's got its place. Like right now, like Watkins Glen is today. The race for Watkins Glen is today. I've been to that race in '94. It's an awesome place. That's an awesome place in New York. Anyway, you were asking about how did I get my teeth cut into racing? So I would say my mom and my dad. My dad was hitchhiking, crewing for a guy, and he just, I don't know, man, I was like 4 or 5 years old, and he brought me to a big block modified race. And it like Weedsport or Utica Rome or one of those two tracks. I was so young, like I don't remember the details very well, but I just remember how I felt. And he's like, we're going to watch this guy. And he points to this number 12 car. His name was Johnny Barker Jr. And who's just the local racer, you know. But in my mind, by the end of the story, he's like a rock star.
Sure.
Like, you know, like this guy is awesome.
He was a rock star for sure. Like any of those guys, they're the guys. Yeah.
So he's like, we're watching this guy. And I remember being there. I know that I wasn't older than maybe 5 or 6 and watching, but not really recollecting what's happening, but it like taking it all, you know, you're so impressionable when you're a kid. It's like everything that you see, like the world is so small, but so big. And so we watch him at Weedsport, and I don't remember what happened at the end of that night, but I remember, I think it was like a week later or 2 weeks later, we went to Fulton Speedway. And he's like, you're going to watch the 12 car again? And apparently my parents were friends with this guy. I just didn't really know it.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, all right, we're watching the 12 car. And I actually have a picture of it. It's the first race car I ever remember seeing in my entire life. And so it's the red, white, and blue number 12. And he's like, we're watching the 12 car again. And I'm like, all right, we're watching the 12 car. And I'm watching it go around, And so, yeah, I mean, I love that race car. It's got some contrast issues, but this is like the first race car I've ever seen in my life and that I remember seeing.
Sure.
And so it's Johnny Barker Jr. And he wins that night. And man, as a kid, you're like, this is the guy I was rooting for. He wins the race. And he's like, my dad goes, let's go behind the stands. He's going to come up behind the stands after he wins with his car. So he pulls up. There's like a crowd of like 50 people. And they're screaming and taking pictures. And he gets out of the car. They pull this big trophy over. And my mind as a kid is exploding.
Sure.
Like, I'm like, whatever racing is, that's what I'm going to be in one way or another. I'm either going to be a race car driver. Or I'm going to be designing cars, whatever it takes. And so this car had a really big hood scoop on the front of it, or a big, cover. On the previous picture, you can see it's like super big. Like I actually, as a kid, I was like, how does he even see over that?
Sure.
And I remember him pulling up and like, man, even like talking about the memory, I like remember smelling like the rubber, the fuel, the dirt being in between like my fingers, like all of it. And the whole front scoop was just covered in clay. And somebody took their hand and they swiped it down. And there was like this just awesome looking, like it was painted back then. Like logo that was like on their cockeyed, and I was like, that's so awesome looking. Like as a kid, I'm thinking that is so awesome looking, and just all the emotions of like being there and watching him win, get the trophy and all that. It was like, man, it just that moment I was hooked to racing for the rest of my life. And so then after that, my dad built a pure stock, which is like the lowest form of racing at that same exact track, and I helped him. I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. I'm like wrenching on it and stuff, but. It's the yellow number 33 car. And So I would help him work on that, and we'd hang out in the garage. My mom would paint the cars. She would paint the numbers on them and paint the sponsors on them. My dad would race the cars, and that was kind of like the way that I grew up. My mom wasn't like big into like painting everybody's car. It wasn't like that, but she would paint. Yeah, it's really low contrast photo, but I would say that's like 1980. I want to say 86 or 87 at Fulton Speedway. And so this is my dad racing his first race car, and just lots of emotions like come up when you just go through the history of, and we weren't great. I mean, I think my dad ran last, so he got way better as time went on. We, our future in racing really changed, but so I would say after that point, I'm into designing cars, painting cars, whatever. That 12 car, my mom gave me a picture. I wish I had the picture. It was like, the 80s, they would like superimpose the driver's head.
Right.
And then the picture of the car would be at the bottom. Yeah. So she gave me the picture of that car, and she was like, here, just draw this. And she made me a little desk. I would draw that race car 100 times, like just sit there and draw it again from the same exact picture. I was just addicted to it.
Sure.
So the creative side of it and just the racing side of it and all that, it really just had me pulled in.
So that makes perfect sense. All that. That's cool. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that with me, because that's awesome. But so that makes sense to why you Dirt 2, right?
Yeah.
What made, I'm just curious, I don't know if you remember this or not, but the software that you were designing on those initial
Paint Shop Pro.
Do you remember how you found that?
I don't. I think I was probably playing the game, and I said I wanted to paint, and somebody in the community was just like, "This is what you need." And I think it was free at the time.
Yeah.
So I just downloaded it.
Yeah.
And started using it. I had the cheapest Hewlett Packard computer. It's just what I did. Yeah.
Oh no, I get it. Because in my head, I feel like I can just listen to you tell the story. I feel like I'm there because I remember. I mean, all these same things, right? I had the old Gateway computer. Yeah. You know what I mean, and running, Dirt 2 and designing those things, and I can remember trying to do stuff like in Paint, having Paint and trying to do. And back then it was the translation between actually being able to draw something and then get it into a design software was mind blowing. Yeah. Right. How am I ever going to do this? You know what I mean? Because I would spend hours with a ruler and trying to make this perfect little cool thing, and then man, how cool would it be? So I get it. I was the same exact way. It's crazy though, because like I said, I'm here and you were in New York, and being in this community, we've seen so many people come from Missouri, from New York, and all over the place really to come here to be a part of professional racing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Greg Stump, you know Greg?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
He
paints helmets for Cup guys.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. But that's did he move here?
From Missouri. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. And so you see it all the time. It's actually, we probably have more people from the Midwest here than people that live here and that work in racing. It's crazy.
It is nuts.
But Ray Evernham, I don't know if you follow him much, but Ray is kind of cool. He was real big in that scene back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Of course. He was huge. Open wheel modifieds, dirt racing, all that stuff. I mean, he's always talking about it. That's his, really, if you wanted to know his passion, that he is all in on that stuff. And he collects these cars, the old, I say old, that was probably, his is even old. No, his is older than that, because that was probably, you said around 2000.
That 33 car?
Yeah.
That was 85 or 86.
Oh, okay. So then, it would be in around that same time period. He was probably closer. He was probably in the 70s, probably. That was probably more his era.
Okay. But
that same style, probably not much change between 70s and 80s as far as the, technology on the race cars. I mean, it's advanced now, but anyway, it's been kind of cool to watch him really dive back off into some of that old stuff.
That's
and
neat. I didn't know that he was doing that.
Oh, dude, it's unreal. He even bought the ARCA series not long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't know what they're doing there. If it's he's trying to do a revamp of it, but he was doing the I I don't want to botch this up. SRX. Is that right?
Yep.
Tony Stewart's deal.
Yeah, Tony Stewart. So Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart were kind of doing that together. And so that kind of had the ARCA vibes, right? Like they were trying to control the bodies and the motors. And
That's so cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So I don't know where I would find it, but we done those cars several years in a row where we would go in and they would have, 20 cars set up, and we would just go in and do every single one of them, man. It was cool. It was Josh, you might be able to find it. There might be a TikTok on that somewhere. Yeah. But it was cool. You go in and blank bodies and you just one after another, just line them up and knock them down. And it's interesting because it's like we do fleet work too. It's not like just motorsports, majority motorsports, but we have to kind of put some fleet stuff in there just to stay a little diversified. You can't
that makes sense.
Put all your eggs in one basket, you know. And so you kind of take some of that stuff you learn from fleet and into a race shop like that. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain too, but if you could imagine, a giant race shop with just line after line after, car after car.
By the last one, are you sick of it?
No. See, that's where
yes.
Some people are, but like I love racing. So it's like you
but we wake up in the morning and we go do it again. So
that's good.
I don't really know.
That's what I mean. It's so hard to try to get your head wrapped around it because it's like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of late nights. You're missing your kids, Christmas sometimes or, Easter or whatever, and it's like you're giving it everything that you've got, and it's ruthless. It doesn't care. It doesn't care that it's raining. It doesn't care if you're hurting. It's a machine and it just wants to gobble it up. Yeah. And it's not going to stop. It doesn't, and so like from that perspective, it's hard. It's very, very hard to, stay relevant in the motorsport space. You just have to work your ass off and be available all the time. It's tough, but then you stop and you look around and it's like, man, like being able to do Jimmy Johnson's championship car.
Yeah.
There's nothing like still gives me cold chills thinking about like that. That's good. Like
it should.
Yeah, that was us. That was us. And I've got a really cool picture of Josh putting the grill on that car.
Oh, really?
That car right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just wild looking back. Like moments like that. Like it's just wild. So and I assume you have to feel the same way about that 12 car, right? Like I mean that's like your
I live in a weird tension. I appreciate the moment, and then but I also there's something about living in the past that bugs me. So I don't know what that is. So I have that. I met Ryan Newman. That was part of winning. He came up, hung out with us, answered questions, and just chilled for a minute. He was pretty cool, low key guy.
Yeah.
And but he signed they printed out the car, all the sides of it, and then he signed it and gave it to me in this big frame. And but I gave it to my dad, and I was like, yeah, you have this. And hang it in your office. And he's like, you don't want that for your office? I'm like, no. I was like, I don't want her to think about what happened in 2007. I'm too busy about what's going on in 2024.
That's cool. Good for you.
So, and I'm not against it. If I had it, I would hang it. But there's a part of me that's like, man, I don't want to get stuck in this is what I did. I want to think about what I'm doing.
Sure.
And obviously there's nothing wrong with that either.
Right.
But there's always something inside of me that's don't be stuck where you were in 2001.
Sure.
Whatever. Because 2001 was depressing.
Sounds like a great year, really. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. What are you talking about?
Sounds like a great year. Jeez. All right. So, bit by the racing bug.
Yeah.
You get this opportunity to design this car for Ryan Newman.
Yeah.
You're still working at the print house that's doing the stuff for.
I am. Yeah.
For Braxton, right?
Branson,
Missouri.
Branson,
Missouri. That's right.
Think of it like Las Vegas, but it's in Missouri.
Yeah. It's hard to think. It's hard to imagine. But you're doing that, and so you go to the race, you come back. How do you get settled back in? How do you even? In my head, I just imagine you coming back and you just saying, "Well, guys, sorry, I got to. I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. I gotta leave." Yeah.
So I came back. Kodak called me one more time for they asked. So the next year, Ryan won the 500 for Penske. He was driving the Altel car, and they asked me to do a poster of it. But it was for Kodak. But Kodak wanted their recognition of it. So they're like,
hang on, before we get too far away here, do you remember how Ryan ran that race? How he did?
I remember he got pushed to the lead at the last lap, right?
Okay.
Wasn't it Kurt Busch that pushed him to the lead?
Oh, I'm talking about the one that he ran your car.
He was running fourth, spun out. I think something happened in the transmission, and they had a mechanical failure.
I got you.
Yeah.
I just in my head, I'm imagining like if he won.
That would have been so rad.
I mean, it was probably still pretty sweet.
Until he spun out, it was actually a possibility. He was running really well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right,
and that was back when he was always up front.
Sure.
You know? So there was, I don't know, 3-4 seasons where he was always in contention.
The Rocket Man.
Yeah, man.
All right, so go ahead. Sorry.
I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
You were Kodak called back.
Oh yeah, Kodak called back, and so he won the 500, and they wanted a poster with him in his Kodak fire suit, but like passing the checkered flag like in the car that he won in the 500. So I made this big. I should have brought it with me. I didn't even think of that. I have like a few prints of it, but so I made that, and then they called me back again. They're like, "Can you make?"
So they called you and asked you to do like a promotional poster,
yeah,
or
just like a victory poster for winning. The 500.
I gotta ask that. Why would they call you to do that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I ended up being the guy, the main guy at Kodak at the time. He must have just been like their advertising or something. He was the one that asked it.
That's interesting.
And so
because they had to have people for that.
Yeah, you would think. So I'm like, why are they calling?
It's awesome.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, my career is going to go somewhere. If I stay on this trajectory, my career is going to go somewhere.
Of course. So you're going to do it.
Yeah. I would have did it for free. It wouldn't have even mattered. Whatever you guys want, just tell me.
But it's cool that somebody there got that. You know what I mean? Somebody was like, yep, I need to call him.
We need to call Ray up.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
I don't know.
And then after that, they called me. I don't remember how they compensated me for the poster, but then they called me to do his hero card. And then they were like, we'll give you tickets to any race you want. I was like, Bristol. I want to go to Bristol. And so they gave me tickets to Bristol, pit passes, like hot passes. And so me and my dad went. So I took my dad in 2000, I want to say it was 2008. I think Carl Edwards ended up winning that race. I can't remember though, but it was awesome. We got to go down to the pit. We could just go anywhere I wanted to go, and I think we were sitting in the middle of turn 3 and 4.
Bristol's loud, man.
Oh man. And it gets a little bit dizzying because you're just watching, and it's like, if there's no caution, you're just like, And it looks like people are spinning out when they're not.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like, it's this weird like feel to it where you're, I don't know, it's strange. Bristol's a whole different animal.
It is, man. It was crazy. Yeah. So, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So, did that hero card, and I just knew, I'm like, I just got to like keep my head down, keep working, keep learning. The big thing is just knowing like there's never a point where you know everything. You got to keep learning. You got to keep grinding. You got to keep pressing in. There's obviously we're all limited, but you got to learn what your limits are. You got to learn how to work like within the limits, and then learn how to break outside of them when you can. Sure. So that's kind of the mentality I had, is like, I just have to keep learning and keep going. I'm going to get more and more opportunities. And so I was learning web development at the same time. So like a humble brag, I taught myself Photoshop and Illustrator. And back then it was a little harder because YouTube just wasn't what it is today. And then I taught myself web development, like CSS, HTML, and PHP. And
so you're writing back-end code, like
I was writing back-end code. So my current website is a WordPress website, but I've modified it so heavily, like it could not be duplicated unless like a really skilled web developer came along and tried to do the same exact thing.
Sure.
There's just a lot of customization to it that I've done to it.
It's a clean website too. I mean,
thank you.
It's not overcomplicated or anything.
Yeah.
Like people that generally know how to do that will overcomplicate it and make it,
Yeah.
So no, I like it.
So I was learning the web development, and then I just put the 2 and 2 together. It's like, okay, I got to take my passion for racing and racing graphics and everything that I've learned in, you don't learn vector by doing video games. Like doing DTR wasn't like a huge leap for me learning the vector, but working in that offset press print shop did help me learn that.
Sure.
Building we were building logos and things like that. And so, you just combine those 2 things. So in 2011, I launched the SRGFX website and launched the first product. And honestly, I launched the first product and I thought, this is stupid. This isn't going to work.
So just make sure I'm picking this up here. So you designed a full-blown website. Mm-hmm. What was your first product?
Vector Pack 1. It's just called Vector Pack 1. And I've recently started changing names around and like giving them better names.
Sure.
So Vector Pack 1 and Vector Racing number set 1.
So were you designing those?
I was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're setting up all the like the kerning and like you're
Yep.
going in and designing like
Yep.
all of it.
Yep.
And so when you're buying that, you're buying Ray's
That's exactly right.
pack.
Yep.
Essentially.
And I do have a team of designers. I'm the primary designer. I design most of what's on the website. I have a team of guys that make a commission. So
Gotcha.
they'll design something, and then I say, all right, I'll negotiate with them a percentage. Here's what I'll do to promote your product. And
So I've got a guy that he's a customer of ours. I can't even say that now. I teach at his school, but he was like, when I told him that I was bringing you on, he was like, dude, you can't do that. Don't do that. And I'm like, do you know him? He was like, I don't know him, but I know his business, and I don't need anybody else knowing that exists. So
That's
like,
hilarious.
and I was excited. I was like, well, cool. I was like, that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
You know, I was pumped anyway, but
I think I'll have him on.
I thought, oh, I'm definitely calling him now. Yeah, this is for sure happening. But he was like, he was talking to me. I think it was 1 or 2 of like his people that he follows like religiously, like I want to say some of their work is on your, maybe they're one of those ones that you're talking about that make commission selling.
yeah, possible. Yeah.
Yeah. He was trying to, cause I didn't realize that. And I've been on your site hundreds of times probably. I mean,
Okay.
but I didn't pick up on that for some reason. Like I don't know why. Maybe I was more just kind of like, looking, cause
Sure.
I'm just kind of I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at different stuff and, trying to see how I can not pay for stuff. So I'm not really like paying too much attention to who's designing it so much.
Yeah.
And there's a funny story about that. But so for him, it was like I didn't realize that was an option. I didn't know that. So is that, I guess what I'm getting at is that how it works? Like you'll find somebody that's in the racing design space and give them an opportunity to be able to sell their designs through your platform?
Yeah.
Or more of a hand selected kind of thing?
Yeah, a little more hand selected.
Yeah.
The more I do it, the less I like doing it with other people. Not that the people are the problem, but it's just the time that I'm sitting there to set up their product. I'm like, I could be creating my own. So, but they're friends of mine now. So I'm like,
Gotcha.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave them in the dust
Sure.
for just because it's not convenient. But in some ways, so one of the things that got really tiring was, I'd launch a product and it would obviously be pretty easy to use in like it's Illustrator, but a FlexiSign guy would be like, I can't open this, or like there's like all kinds of problems and
Sure.
it's locked up and it's not working. And I'm like, flip, and I got to figure out how to like solve this problem.
Yeah.
So I just bought subscriptions to FlexiSign and Corel and started learning them. And I'm like, I've got to know what these guys are experiencing when
Right.
they're opening my files if I really want them to buy the file.
Yeah.
And so I've started learning Flexi, and it took me 16 hours to figure out how to get through all the loopholes or issues that happen between Illustrator and Flexi, because there's a lot.
Sure.
So like if you put a gradient on something, like Flexi interprets it a different way. Or if you put a spot color on something, Flexi interprets it a different way.
Sure. Like gradient mesh doesn't even exist really. in Flexi.
Not at all. Yeah. Any of those like kind of custom tools in Illustrator,
Yeah.
Flexi like just craps out. It's like you can't do it. So you got to know as I'm building a product, I got to know I'm building it for Illustrator users primarily, because that is the industry standard. But Flexi guys are going to open it and they got to have a seamless experience.
For sure.
So now when the
You hear that, Josh? People use Flexi.
I get it.
and
I'm a
Corel.
Flexi guy. I came
Are
from
you?
Flexi. Yeah.
Okay,
So it's
yeah.
like Sign Lab and like
Yeah.
you go like, I'm trying to think of what the other Sign Mate was one of them.
It's like watching a dinosaur work, whatever.
Yeah.
Really
But
slow
there's
one.
some things that I can do much faster in
Yeah.
Flexi versus Illustrator, and there's some things that I can do much faster in Illustrator that I can.
And that's what I tell people. They're like, tell me what one is the best one. I was like, the one that you're comfortable in.
For
Like,
sure.
If you're comfortable in it, use it. I don't do the whole like, this is the best and it's, it's like, who cares if PlayStation's better than Xbox? I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It's the same. To me, it's like, get comfortable with the one you're comfortable with. And
We're all
be
playing,
good
right?
at it. Yep.
At the end of the day.
Mhm.
Yep. Cool.
So, but with the guys on commission, they don't know. If I asked them to do it, they could, but it would probably be overwhelming for me to explain to them the steps that they would have to go through to fix it for Flexi.
Sure.
So anytime I'm designing anything, I'm like thinking, okay,
You're taking that into
what's Flexi going to do with this? And the same with Corel. Corel's a little bit more friendly.
Can that be limiting on the design? Can it?
It can be. Yeah, it
I
can
imagine
be.
it would be.
I've learned a few things to get around it.
Sure.
But so those are all the steps I'm taking as I'm launching a product. It isn't just, hey, I created this awesome thing, now it's ready to launch. It's like, now I've got to bring it through the Flexi grinder, I got to bring it through the Corel grinder, I've got to export layers out for Photoshop, I got to make it work for all of these different things so that everybody's having the experience that they want to have. And if I'm sitting there doing this for 10 guys that are on commission, I'm like, well, at some point I've got to get paid for like grinding through their files because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you have to care about the quality of it. If you don't care about the quality, like somebody will buy it, and if it doesn't work, they might not hit your support page. They might just be like, I'm just not buying it again.
Right.
You know? And so,
well, I mean, that's the product, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're selling them is the quality of the product.
Yeah.
And it's and not just the quality, right? The ease of it too. Your website needs to work good.
Yeah.
They need to be able to get on and have a seamless experience from, is it more convenient for me to have to bang my head up against the wall for a design, or do I just go here and just download one and upload it and go to work? You know? So even on the back end, when you download that file, I don't want to have to spend a bunch of time reinventing the wheel, right? The reason I bought this was because I want to plug and play.
Yeah.
I want to
save time.
I want to
That's
dump
the whole
this onto a
purpose.
template, scale it up a little bit, send it to the printer, and
Be done.
Yeah, we're going racing in 2 days. I don't have time for this shit, right? I want to look cool, and I want to, want this to be a quick process.
That's
right. Do you know how many do you have on the website now?
How many products?
Yeah.
I want to say it's in the 260
That's a
60
lot.
something. It is.
Yeah. And then, and you say a product. So I've looked at these things. Josh, can you pull this up? I don't know if, I think it's kind of cool to be able to see it, but like a product for you isn't just, you're not just buying.
I have been trying to remember the website name.
Oh, this is perfect.
For like,
you can
schoolofracinggraphics.com. I hope it works. Every time I go on vacation, like fatal error on the website. So
that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? That would be terrible.
I wouldn't care. I would just be like, well, I'll fix that when I get home.
Yeah. Well, you just pull it up on Josh's computer. We'll just dial it and we'll fix it up here.
not today. It looks good.
Yeah.
Good.
Awesome. So your products aren't just, you're not just going in and just buying one design. I guess in some cases you can.
Some
right?
of them you are.
Yeah. And for the most part,
The price will change depending on how much you're getting. Yeah.
sure. And this,
So yeah, click on that number 20 dirt modified there, the hooligan. That the second one from the left is the purple one.
This one.
Yep. Yeah. Click. So this is what I would call a bundle pack. Click on the second image, if you don't mind. Yeah. So this, obviously the top part would be like, what? Okay, I'm going to throw that in the background, but like even this check is set up with like live text and font. So it comes with the font, and then you can retype all of that. So none of that is static. Even that sponsor there where it says left hand hooligans, you can change that, type that into anything you want to. The fonts are included. They're all open font license.
okay.
And so, but the idea here behind this is like, this is essentially like a starter kit for a brand in that you can do your race car, you can do checks, you can do a number plate, you can do all kinds of different things with this. It's not just,
Very cool.
I got a logo there, it's just got all of the components to be able to go through all the branding.
And so this is a big conversation for the rap industry, right? Brand identity.
Yeah.
Right. Who you are. You're bringing your brand, when you bring your logo or your brand to the table and you're letting everybody see it and interpret it for what they want, it's super critical.
Yeah.
I would say equally as important in the racing space, right?
Yeah.
Because, and so you're not, I haven't ever thought about it like this. This is awesome. And what really what really like sets it in perspective for me is the iRacing thing too, right? So
Yeah.
you've got a guy, chances are if he's going racing on Saturday night, he's on iRacing too. So now he's downloading this thing, right? And depending on what his situation is, but he can do all of his branding, all of his marketing. He can do his hero cards based off of that. He can do he can do business cards, flyers. That essentially you're buying a brand identity for $50.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy if you think about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you think about like people spend years and millions of dollars dialing that in, like who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that this is, and their styles, right? Like you can see something that you can identify that and you can say like, oh, that was inspired by buy a golf car, right?
Yeah.
Like the baby blue, or with the orange stripe and the dark blue, and the positioning of graphics and stripes and stuff. That was inspired by that. And, you know what I mean? So it's like at heart, like it's there. It's in essence, it's like inspired by that. So anyway, I just think that's cool that I've never thought of it like that. Like that, you're purchasing a brand identity. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And that could change. For a new guy that's getting into racing, you may not know what that is for you right now.
Right.
You know
That's
what
right.
I mean? So,
I think I look at it too. Like, so if they buy that, I'm thinking primarily as a designer. I'm thinking, so this is not a bundle kit, meaning it doesn't come with all the branding and stuff. It's just graphics and patterns and things like that. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm creating a launching point for somebody.
right.
So because people will say, well, I don't want to buy your thing because so-and-so down the street bought it. And like, if I buy it and he buys it and then we both, I'm like, well, yeah, obviously. I was like,
Makes
so use
sense.
it as a launching point, not your ending point. Right. So for me, like I'm building this thinking, I could take like 4 elements out of this and have a totally different design and flip it upside down and maneuver a couple of things. And I've got a whole nother thing going on.
Earlier, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I hate designing just for that simple fact, because like, it's funny, Scott and I have had so many conversations because there's a lot of cool stuff that pops in my head that I would like to like design, but like I just get into this like creative like stopping point, and Scott's just like, dude, you can like, you don't have to like make everything yourself. Like you can go like grab these, and I'm like, yeah, I know that, but like, I don't know. Somehow I've talked myself out of.
Yeah, he'll say, well, I kind of thought this texture in the back would be cool, and it's like, okay, Google it. There's that texture. Bring that in. What else? Well, and
But I'm over here like
maybe a stripe here, and then we kind of like do it, and it's like, okay, yeah, no, draw a box here, and it's
good.
What else?
But that's what I see this stuff as is just like a way to get over a creative slump.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That you can take, and
To
get
me-
out of your head.
Like to me, I'm looking at the stuff I put in the bottom corner there, those little white lines.
Mm-hmm.
I would just go nuts with like 3 or 4 different designs that nobody would ever recognize by the time I was done that came from this pack.
Yeah.
I would because there's just so many, in my mind, just being a creative person, there's just so many opportunities there for different things. But some people see it and they're like, I just have to use it the exact way that I saw it.
Sure.
And I can't see it any other way. And some people just have that limitation.
Earlier, you mentioned that you're doing some online classes.
Yeah.
Where do they find that, and what does that look like? What does that entail?
So if you go up to courses on the top there,
It's the big button says courses.
Yeah.
and then so Mastering Race Wraps is my main course.
Okay.
And that one's $299, and essentially what it does, it runs you through designing a dirt modified and a dirt late model.
Okay.
But it talks about the industry standards. Like if you're going to design race cars, like here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to know for bleed margins, your proximity, your alignment, like the sizes of things. How I probably actually overdid it to be honest. Like some people said I started working through the course and then it was like it got really long, and I'm like, but you learned a lot, right? They're like, yeah. And so I've got this course, so it's 128 video lessons, 30 hours of material.
Hold on. Say that one more time.
30 hours of material.
30 hours.
Yeah.
30 hours.
Yeah.
So, man,
Yeah, it was a lot. I burnt myself out doing this.
really? How many of these? Man, that's unbelievable. That's awesome. And how do you market this?
I primarily through Facebook, social media, newsletter. Newsletter is the number one way to market anything.
Oh, right.
And like I could put something on Facebook, pay for advertising. Put something on Instagram, pay for advertising. And number one, if you got a newsletter with emails, that is where your sales are going to come from.
That's awesome. So you do step by step. You walk them literally. Like this is really cool.
Yeah, you see how I'm setting up margins and like keeping
Are you
consistent
talking
spacing.
as you're going through
the
this?
whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it's design philosophy. So it's not like I'm just saying, hey, this is how I think about this. This is how you should think through it. And just articulating, because a lot of designers just don't think through it on a really particular level. They're just like, hey, just throw numbers and colors on. And I'm like, no, there's a really particular way to do this.
Right.
And it's good to break outside of that as well. I'm not saying you have to do it a particular way, but yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So a guy, so essentially you, right? Like you as a kid, I say a kid, I don't know how old you were when you were designing stuff for Dirt 2.
I was 22, 23.
Okay. Yeah. So a guy that just graduates high school, essentially he could go to this website and he could take the course, $250.
Yeah.
He's going to get especially if he's passionate about racing.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost game over at that point. Like he's locked in. $250. You know what I mean? Like he can get on. He's going to learn everything he needs to learn. He's going to be able to do that because see, this is in my head. We're in the wrapping space, right? But like the whole iRacing thing, like that in itself. Do you have customers that just are buying stuff just for that reason, just for iRacing yet?
Yeah, I was nervous about getting into that industry just because of the amount of like pirating that happens.
Sure.
And so it is like it's kind of like I want to do this, but I don't want to do this kind of thing.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you just, you get into like promoting your stuff that you really care about and that people are buying it and getting legitimate value from, right? And now you introduce it to this kind of like other subculture that's like, we actually are trying to pirate stuff and get stuff for free, and we think it's a win when we do. Like we're getting one over on the guy,
100%
on whoever the man is. We're getting him.
Yeah.
I end up being the man in this situation. So, and people will justify in this way, and they'll say like the man deserves to be stolen from, right? And I'm like, little do they know, I'm like, dude, I'm just like trying to like feed my kids, like take care of my wife, like pay my mortgage.
Well, that's why I think stuff like this is important because if they can put a face with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so are like you a millionaire with this big mansion that's just like got all these people working for you and you're just crushing it? And I say this all from the perspective, like I said, there's absolutely no doubt that I've knocked stuff off on your website. When I say that, more from inspirational standpoint, you know what I mean?
And I want that.
So
I say that. I don't want people to steal stuff, but like if people come to my website and they see something that inspires them and then they create it, I'm like, I can't tell them no.
Do you do memberships?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So how does the membership program work?
I'm sorry. I did interrupt to what you were saying. You were saying something and then I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have completely moved on.
Okay.
Because I have no idea what that was. No, I just think, so I think I was talking about when inspiration is a tough thing, right? Because like Josh said, you can get to a point where you hit like this writer's block, right? Yeah. And even because a lot of times, I don't know how it works for you. Actually, I'd love to hear it. So when you hit those spaces, how do you adjust? Where does the inspiration come from? Are you just, I don't know because I'm Googling, I'm getting on and I'm going to find the stuff that really trips my trigger and like really gets me excited. Like those are the things. And a lot of times it's stuff that like that's like, what about that really gets me excited? What's cool about that? Where did the inspiration come from? For them, and then try to move that forward. So how do you overcome that? This
is something that actually the headquarters of Hot Wheels taught me pretty well. I'll answer that question. He's got that on the screen.
Okay.
And you asked this question before.
Okay.
So this particular course,
I'm glad you're paying attention. I can go off the rails.
He's on it, bro.
That's all right. So this course is $75 and it teaches you the basics of Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
I've had guys take this course 7 days later, went and got a job at a sign shop. And like, that's part of the reviews. If you read the reviews on this, like, dude, I took this course and a week later I was able to go and get a job.
So this isn't necessarily just to do with racing.
This is anything you want to do. Yeah.
Anything that you want to do.
But I gear it with racing.
Sure.
I build like basically a racing number, label for like a car with like a last name, how you got like number 5 name, like that's what we build in that.
Okay.
But I wanted to just point that out that, like you can come here and know nothing, take this course, and then the next week a guy has gone and gotten a job.
Sure.
So
pirating, I think that's kind of where we were at there. That whole pirating thing, like, again, I really hadn't put the thought and energy into it. And I think most of it was because, when I'm looking at this, like I'm thinking of like, I don't know where you're coming up with this stuff. Maybe you're buying it from somebody, you know what I mean? Like you just don't think about the person. So I think that it's really cool that you're the guy, right?
Yeah.
Of course, like you said, there's some other people involved, but even still then they're people too.
Yep.
And so it's not like there's this big surplus of race designs that, you buy from China and that you just resell. It's not like that. You know what I mean? Like this is a real creative process for you.
Yeah. It's painstaking. And, and like, and sometimes you feel like this one's crap, like you put your 20 hours into it and you're like, this one's crap. I can't sell this, and so like you go through that process as well. And then you do, because it's like, well, I put the time in, I'm launching it. I'll just sell it for like less money because it's still worth it.
So that's almost like an art gallery kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
there's a conviction to it.
Yeah, that's interesting as hell. Because you don't really get to, well, inevitably you get to decide how good it is, right? Because you're putting the value on it. But the flip side of that is you don't really get to pick how good it is. The person that's buying it gets to pick how good it is. That is neat.
So, and people will say, so like that, that bundle pack I showed you they're like, well, I don't like purple. I'm like, well, dude, you can change it to red. Like, but because they don't like purple, they won't buy it. So I'm like,
so do you do
crazy.
that? Do you go in and like ever show like a version of that in a different color, like as your?
I usually will I put it in the description of the product, but a lot of people don't read product descriptions, no matter how fancy you make it. So I'd like to do a lot of videos on my YouTube page of just like here's me using stuff. Here's me using the pack and like click, change color, click, change color. Now look, we have like almost a totally different vibe going on because we changed the colors. Now if I start shift stuff around.
That's so funny that you have to do that.
Oh yeah, man.
But I also understand that for some reason. I really do. Like as a consumer, like there's something to be said about that. Like when you see something, it could, and I even, like I said, I can design. So, but when you see something, you get a certain,
there's a feeling.
There's a feeling, and it's so hard to just erase that feeling in your mind. Because I know, like you said, it's a couple clicks. It's a whole new thing. And I guess that's why some of it is subjective, right? Like you can't predict that.
No, you can't. And so you do your best to put it in context. So that's why. So you can go back to the 20 car if you'd like. My portfolio, I've got to code something a little bit different. But if you scroll to the bottom, I never put the cars, these examples in the product pictures because then people want the car. They're like, give me the whole thing, and I sell the template separate. So you can see here when you click it, it shows you what products I use to build it, but it puts it in context.
I can't see what that says.
So
why is that not going to come up?
Oh, it's coming up on the TV. So yeah, the fonts used, like sometimes I'll post them there and then there's a link to go get the font if it's relevant.
Sure.
But helping people see it in context is actually what's most important. Sure. So when they come, they're like, all right, I get it. I don't like purple, but if I imagine that to be red, that is a cool looking car. I can do that. Right. That kind of a thing. So you try to push it in the context that you intend it for as much as you can, but also show like, hey, this is highly customizable. You don't have to be stuck in that. Like, honestly, I could take that, put it on a dirt late model or a sprint car in 15, 20 minutes and make it look just as cool. And that's really I'm trying to communicate. I'm not so much trying to communicate you need to love a purple car. Right. But if I just designed red graphics over and over and over again, people will be like, all right, dude, do you like any other colors? So there's got to be a variety to it on the website. So you asked about inspiration.
Inspiration, correct.
I do feel like I have a gift of, I'm always have like ideas. Like they're just always flowing through my mind. Like, and not always does it work perfectly, but like, Hot Wheels will be like, all right, we're going to send you this car. We need you to come up with like a concept for it. And like sometimes like right away in my mind, like I know exactly what I'm going to do on this car. And then there's other times where I like stare at a car and I'm like, I have zero clue where to even go with this thing.
Do you think that you're doing that all the time anyway?
Like creating in my mind?
Yeah.
I think so, because I see, like, man, I look at the stupidest thing out on the street and I'm like, how can I fit that into a race car? Like, it's like, there's the curb. Like, how do we make that look good on a race car?
Some of the cup cars in the last 2 years, they've gotten really creative where they've done some out of the box stuff that you wouldn't see normally. Like the Chastain, the jockey car that they just ran or whatever, it had like the guy just in his underwear or whatever.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's completely outside of traditional graphics for a race car.
Alex Bowman's car.
Yeah, that's another.
That car is so rad. He was running like a special one. Michigan, was it? It had Dayglow pink on it.
Yeah.
Dude, that car looked rad.
Yeah.
I love that.
They're doing a really good job. And Alex is he's a good fit for that.
Is he?
Oh, awesome. 100%. Yeah. He's that guy.
And that car was purple.
Yeah. You a purple guy?
No, I mean, my favorite color is orange.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, there you go. There's the
okay. Yeah. That's so cool.
So completely different, right? Like this isn't like a traditional NASCAR design, right? But, and it's not that I love it, but I just love the fact that they're stepping out of the box.
Do
and
it different.
Something. Yeah, exactly. Just try something different. Let's get out there and see what it's like. And so I think it's gotten a lot of attention. I think it's cool.
Well, the change of the of this generation's car, like I think that plays a huge role in like how they're designing too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because like this car kind of is out of the box.
Yeah.
When you think about like your traditional, stock car.
No, I love that.
So.
That's just the uniqueness of it. You know what I wish they would do is allow them to put the number either in the middle of the door, on the back, or the front. Like they have a choice.
Oh yeah, open it up.
Yeah, and because it seems to me obvious that they moved it to the front so that branding could take a bigger part of the car up.
100%.
Right? And you could billboard logos, but when they don't billboard the logo, like they should be able to move it around so that the alignment, looks right.
Yeah, we've got a friend of ours. She has a t-shirt company and she runs late model, and she runs her number on the rear lower quarter.
Okay.
And does full side branding.
Oh yeah.
Very cool. Looks very good, but not every series like the car store. Yeah, the car store won't let her do it.
What's funny too is like I don't have to love something in order to know that it has its place.
Sure.
And so I hear a lot of guys, when they put the number on the back quarter, like other guys will be like, I hate that.
Sure.
Well, dude, not everything's for you to love.
Right.
Like I know that not every design that I make, every single person's going to love it.
Right.
And so you just get used to the idea of like somebody is going to like it.
Right.
And I like it. So I accept it.
And then and back to inspiration. So the reason I asked that, I seen a video. I don't know why I'm getting swamped with like these Seinfeld clips here lately. But my feed on social media seems to be nothing but Seinfeld stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of leaned into it now at this point where it's like it's kind of interesting and to hear some. But I watched a Jerry Seinfeld clip the other day, and he was like, comedy for me is just life. I'm just looking around all the time. And he was like, if you'll just slow down, there's some funny shit going on.
Yeah.
And he's like, sometimes it's because people are dumb. Sometimes it's because they're smart. Sometimes it's just because we're living and we're here. And so it was kind of cool to hear him say that like every situation in his life is a bit, it's a potential bit that he's building towards. And so design elements are kind of the same way, right? I mean, you could be in here and, you could just see the curtains back here and just think, man, that was a wicked texture.
Yeah.
That was just a cool, silky matte, like it just cool texture. And then that just be the thing that it could be if you're looking for it, I guess.
Yeah, it ignites your imagination.
Right.
And it might just be the idea. I come up with something totally different, but this started it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sparked it. Like, but you got to be looking for it.
That's right.
And so I assume for you that it's all day, every day.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try not to look at race cars.
Really?
I try not to look at race cars for my inspiration, so that my inspiration's coming from something outside of the industry that I'm working in.
Sure.
To reintroduce ideas or to introduce new ideas in. And I'm not claiming to be like a revolutionary or like I have all these amazing, unique ideas. We are all stealing ideas from something and somewhere.
Sure. There's nothing new under the sun, right?
Nothing. And so there's even guys in the industry that are like, my designs are so unique. I'm like, brother, they're not. Like, just humble yourself, man.
Sure.
Now I'm not saying that to say we should all be copying off of each other, but like so what Hot Wheels taught me, he was like, dude, the way to come up with something more unique is take one idea and take another idea and mash them together.
Sure.
Two totally different ideas and figure out how to make it work. I was like, I never thought of that before. He's like, if you're going to be creative, like you got to learn how to use your brain in this way. Mm-hmm. And so like, man, Hot Wheels has schooled me in a lot of ways. And,
really?
Oh yeah. And just like stretching my design abilities and what I think I'm capable of. And they told me like, I got in, I don't know, I probably had designed maybe like 30 or 40 cars, and they were like, and they're awesome people. Like it's a non-toxic work environment. Like Hot Wheels is legit. They were awesome to work for. And the lead designer, but he was honest with me one day. He's like, dude, nothing you're really doing is really impressing us. And I was like, okay.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah. Thank you for your honesty. And everything up to that point was good, but it wasn't like I wasn't pushing a boundary. I wasn't doing anything that they hadn't seen.
Intentionally?
Right?
Like were you playing it safe?
I think I was trying to learn the process because the process is difficult, so it's like there's so much to know what the limitations are. And then once you learn what the limitations are, you can learn how to work within those confines. And so there's like, you're learning like so many different, like each one gets, it's not just coloring the car. Like I need to know like what this color paint is, what this wheel is called, what kind of plastic is this? Because all those are getting called out, and I've got to provide that information as well. So there's like a relation, responsibility to communication in the whole process. So you're like learning it's like hitting you all at once. And I tried to train a couple of guys that are like, dude, this is overwhelming. Like, you got to know this program, you got to know this program, you got to know how to fill out this. I'm like, yeah, it's not. If it was just sitting down and designing, everybody would do it, but it's not. There's just more to it.
Do you think it's a critical element to the car itself?
What's that?
The design.
The designing the graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I think of each one as like a personality.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you're helping bring that to life that's the way you feel about it. Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I think the same way about race cars, right?
Yeah.
I think because when I described to you the black number 3 with it, you're painting that picture in your head.
I was thinking that in my mind.
You know it. You can see it so quick. Somebody done that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody done that. There's a guy out there like me or you that's what he wanted, and he wanted, and so you're not necessarily thinking about the car or the driver or the tire no, you're thinking about the graphics on the side of that car, and that's timeless. I mean, that's like, it's so important, and the fact that you take it serious is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
like I'm glad to hear it, because that again like that changes my whole perspective on Hot Wheels, that there's somebody out there like you that gives a shit. And I know that could sound funny, but it's like, oh, of course you do, or you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. Right. But almost a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a cool way. So that's cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. So, and they tell me too, they're like, you have to be a student of car culture. You can't just keep resting on your laurels. Like this year, the lead designer, I'm making it sound like he's hard on me. He's not. He's just honest so that we push boundaries, which is so important in any industry.
Because you're in a box.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you need to be putting pressure on that box. You need to be right there. And that's cool. That's cool that he's that way.
Yeah. And he doesn't do it like all the time, and it's always constructive.
Well, you got to be careful too, because the last thing you want is for that box to come busting open and you completely change. Hot Wheels is traditional.
Yeah.
Yes, at the same time, it's progressive and it's trying new things and it's doing things differently, but there's a heritage to it, right? Yeah. Like you didn't just get to NFTs,
right?
Like that came from long before.
Yeah, it's
sorry.
good. That's good. Yeah. No, you're right. No,
there's a history to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to be a part, to me, it's more of I wake up every day and I'm like, am I really? I'm doing. This is what I'm doing.
You're the guy. when you said it, when we were messaging back and forth, and I'm like, how is that possible?
Oh, dude,
I went back and read it several times. Like, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe, but I'm in kind of the same seat. When I meet a true racing fan, and I'm like, we were at Kyle Larson's, cup car, we won the championship. That was us. And they're like, nah, you didn't. Mm-hmm. There's just no way.
Nope.
Because that's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, you're the guy. You're serious. Right? And it's like, yeah.
I've actually stopped telling people. Because they'd be like, oh, you're a crackhead. Like you're just like,
there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, I just can't
delusional.
Yeah. What's wrong with you? So people don't believe me. So
that's funny.
People near me, some of my friends, they know.
And, for sure.
And they love it. And my son actually said, he's like, my hero is my dad.
That's
like,
cool.
Not just because I do the Hot Wheels cars, for other reasons as well. But he's like, whose else's dad does Hot Wheels or designs Hot Wheels cars?
Is he into Hot Wheels?
Oh yeah. He actually, I bought him a computer. He's 13, my oldest son. I bought him a computer. I'm like, dude, you're going to start learning how to color these cars up. Because when we design them, we choose the colors and everything. And we're coloring them in Photoshop and then importing them as links into Illustrator. And so I'm like showing him, I'm like, all right, and I wrote a bunch of actions to like make the process like go way quicker. So it does a whole bunch of stuff and then you just slide the colors around, but you got to match colors that exist and all that kind of stuff.
I'm sure the two play off each other really well. The fact that you're building courses for doing it, right? Mm-hmm. And then the fact that you're teaching him, so like one's good for the other. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So he's involved, not in a really heavy way, but he's at least knowing. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, listen, I don't mind if you play video games a little bit, but I want you you need to be creative, you need to be developing, you need to be doing something with your time that's really constructive, because that's what's going to ultimately fulfill you with your purpose.
Sure.
And I'm not big on video games, but I'm like not against it either. I'm like,
that's interesting.
yeah, because that's how I got my start, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, but now I also like my life was not in a good place back then either. So
gotcha.
I'm like, I don't really want my kids to go through that. I see their potential. I'm like, dude, if you're coloring Hot Wheels cars at 13 years old, like what are you going to be doing when you're 25?
Sure.
You know, you're going to be doing something way cooler.
Isn't that weird though? That it's like the thing that got you to where that you know what I mean? Because I think about it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I've got kids as well, and I'll say that this is a really good way that we look at it. My daughter's 16, and so when we talk about things like this, it's like the door for me. Now their mother's a little different, but for me, it's like doors open. You can you can spend as much time as you want on any platform doing anything that you want to do.
Oh, that's good.
As long as you're being equally as creative.
That's good. Yeah.
Right. So every time you pick up the phone and you open the app, post something.
Yeah.
Like, well, what am I going to post? Then don't open it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If you don't have, well, I can't just post a picture of my shoe. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Well, people will think I'm crazy. That's right. They will. So if you don't want to post that, don't open the app and don't use it.
Yeah.
Right. It really is. So it's a create. And I think I got that from Gary Vee, I think is where
I was just going to say that sounds like a Gary Vee thing.
It for sure is.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that really put it into perspective with me and her. Like, just be creative.
Yeah.
That's all. There has to be a balance. It can't just be, go all in. But that whole like, so I was in a car wreck when I was 16, 17 years old, somewhere right in that time. It's really close to my birthday, and it was terrible. It was bad. Like I probably should have died a couple different ways. Like it was horrendous, right? Looking back, but it completely changed my life. Some for really good, some for really bad. Yeah. And so it was like, when I look back, it's like, man, I don't want them to have to go through that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I am so grateful that I am the person that I am today. Not that I'm anything special, but like without those things, I would, you know what I mean? So it's a weird
paradigm.
It really is. Because you want, they got to go through some sort of struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have
Absolutely.
to, you know what I mean? And so it's a strange thing. It's a tough from a parenting standpoint.
Yeah, like, what do I control? What don't I control?
Right.
And what's healthy? What isn't healthy? For not just the video game thing, but like
anything.
What level of my input is healthy in this scenario?
Right.
I do tell my son. I have a 10-year-old, and he's super creative.
Yeah.
And so I have I forget what the name of the program on an iPad. I'm like, dude, you can use this whenever you want, as long as you're animating and creating. Yep. Go for it, man. Yeah. Like draw, do it, whatever you want to do. So, and we say you can watch as much TV you want if you're watching a documentary. Like they watch other things as well.
Sure.
I'm like, but go like
balance
if you want to learn something about our presidents or something about the Civil War, like you can watch TV for 8 hours today. I don't care. And they won't,
Sure.
They'll actually
could,
right.
I like learning, but
they'll do it for a little bit, but then, and we let them watch other things as well that they enjoy. It's like, it's not
YouTube, right? Like YouTube is so hard to like, you can go in any direction that you want to. Now that's the downside. It's a good thing and the bad thing about it too, right? It's like you can go down any rabbit hole that you want to. Whatever you want to learn, you can learn it there. But whatever you want to learn, you can learn it there. So it's a strange. It is strange.
It's true.
So we were talking about inspiration and you being like them. They were essentially teaching you how to be inspired, right? I think that that's extremely clever. Like saying taking two, because and even the more that they don't work together, even seems like that's better.
It's gonna work.
Yeah, like you have to.
This is gonna work.
Yeah, you're gonna make this work, and it's kind of cool because that this is unintentional, but this just fits so well, right? That's kind of what we did with the knife tucker, right? We took a knife and we took a tucker and we just combined the two, right? After the fact, it's like, well, duh. I mean, that makes perfect. But the struggle to get there, to think that those two things could come, two things that really don't belong together, like to put them together was like, oh wow, this is really cool. Like this works. It makes sense. Now it's like kind of like I said, a no brainer. But beforehand, it's like this shit. Like when I first told Josh, it was like 2 a.m. and he's like, dude, you need sleep. That's what you need. You need to go to bed. You've been up too long. This is not healthy. So anyway, so it could seem crazy. Yeah. But from a design aspect, it's like I don't know how it's going to work, but
we're going to get there.
We're going to make this work. So that's cool. That's cool that you got that from them. So did you start? I mean, if I'm following this timeline correctly, you had the website before you worked at Hot Wheels. Yeah. So how did that process go?
So I started the website 2011, right when we had our first son, Rafa. That's when I was working for the web development company.
Did you say Rafa?
Yeah, his name's Rafa. Raphael. Yeah, but we call him Rafa.
His name is Raphael?
Yeah, Raphael.
Like the Ninja Turtle?
Yeah. Well, so there's a story there.
Okay.
I won't share that story.
Okay. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But that's a unique name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like a very unique name.
Yeah. My wife and I, we almost split up before we had kids.
Okay.
And so the name Rafa is the name means God who heals. And so when we got back together, we got pregnant like, I don't know, it was pretty quick after that. And so we used his name as kind of like an inspiration or a launching point of like, okay, our marriage is healed. We need to move forward. And so,
cool.
yeah.
That's way better than the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude, you are a nerd. You named your kid. I just was painting this image of you having like the pizza boxes on the wall or something. Okay, so that's good. I'm glad we cleared that up. I feel much better.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, there's a safe level of nerd that you can have. You know what I mean? When you start naming your kid after a Ninja Turtle, it just takes it to another level.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
Continue.
So I forgot what you asked me.
Oh, I'm just
how I got the Hot Wheels.
Yeah. So the gap. So you had the website.
Yeah.
You're designing, and then so there's a gap in there. I'm just curious of what that looks like.
So yeah, I'm building the website, and obviously the portfolio is on the website, and the portfolio I think is actually the most important piece, but probably the most overlooked piece because it shows basically what you can do with the product, and then it shows you what product I used with what I created.
Can we pull it up? Can we see?
Yeah. You pull it up,
Josh.
It's on the top menu. It just says portfolio, and essentially each one you click on it, and it says I used this template, this number set, this graphic, and I used to try to more like create something different than what was in the actual product, just to say like this doesn't have to be like clip art cooker cutty. And you can see these second two designs, like I'm trying to like loosen up my design, the way I'm designing a little bit, you know, like getting outside of the box a little bit. You know, using this is called actually like a dazzle graphic. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like World War II ships.
Okay.
In the World War II, they would camouflage ships so that you didn't know where to shoot it with a missile. And so it was called the dazzle graphic. And so they would draw lines all over the battleships. And so that's what inspires this graphic, matched with kind of like that 90s, it's called Memphis style. So most people don't know it's called Memphis style, but there's actually a style, it's just called Memphis art, or you can call it with the
like the Saved by the Bell.
Yeah,
Bell
kind of
vibes,
Saved by the Bell vibe.
Yeah.
So you got the Saved by the Bell vibe mixed with the dazzle graphic camouflage look. So I'm trying to like loosen up what I'm doing and try to think a little bit more outside of the box, and because usually it's just like straight line, number, sponsor, make it look fast, you know?
Sure.
And so like I want the make it look fast element always to be there, but I want to try to think outside the box as much as I can. Anyway, so
but at the same time fit inside the box.
Fit inside the box.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, this is acceptable. This
Right.
works in the industry.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you can
So
see
you're
there's
saying this is a very important thing for you as far as like you want people to come to the portfolio and this is what they're this breakdown. I see what you're saying. Okay, so the products used category that you're wanting to come here and say, okay, if you were looking for something like this, here are the different options that are inside this piece.
Yeah, if you want that number, that number set, there's a 1 through 9 or 0 through 9 number
and
set.
can you click on those?
Yeah, they'll go to the product pages.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
And so like a graphic like this isn't gonna like be incredibly popular because it's so unique. Like that is identifiable, right?
Sure. So if you go to a Saturday night race and some guys got
7 guys got that,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody knows where that came from.
Sure.
So there's a tension between, do I create something incredibly unique or do I do like a graphic like this that can be modified and manipulated, but it's really hard to tell what
Sure,
that it came from the pack.
Yeah, you could go in there and you could easily change those colors and maybe mess around with the pattern just a little bit and have
Flip things around.
a completely different looking.
Yeah.
Right, so similar but different.
And not 100% be able to say that's an SRGFX thing.
Sure.
So I live in that tension of trying to do those things.
Do you think that that's important?
I do. I think that I want to give the client the option to make it look like they did not get it from my website. As much as I want people to know and promote it, I don't want 3 guys to all stand and be like, yeah, we all got that graphic from the same place, and all 3 of our cars look the same. I don't want that to happen.
Got it.
So
are you saying you're saying that from the perspective of because, well, you may be able to tell me better. How many of your customers are the people that are at the track versus a sign shop or a wrap shop? Or I know that's probably a very specific question, but I'm just kind of like,
I think it's more sign shops
really
than it is just guys that coming in and saying, I want to do my own thing. Because a lot of those guys would, first time they would get lost in the information, and like, there are people who do it.
I was going to say, this is pretty, they could, you know better, you know whether they are or they're not, but they easily could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you even have just like a little bit of desire, and it actually makes more sense, because if it's your race car, then you really do need to be in control of that. And expecting somebody else to think that somebody else they're going to be able to get out of your head what you want and do it for, a reasonable price is a pretty strong expectation.
Yeah. My conviction is to always market to the sign shop.
Okay.
So I could push the like, do your own thing, design your own car thing, and that could be becoming a marketing ploy. But then it turns off the sign shop, because I'm taking their client and I'm saying they don't need you.
Sure.
And right now that's my client base. So I care about the client base. And if somebody wants to come along and figure out how to do their own thing, I'm not intentionally marketing to that.
Got it.
So
got it. Okay.
They are welcome to do it if they want.
Sure.
So, but even them, like, they're the ones that are harder, because they're hitting up the support page. Hey, how do I open this file and move things around? I'm like, dude, there's a course for that. I can't give you that course through email.
Sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've got 30 hours wrapped up. Where actually, probably there's no telling how many. If you've got a 30-hour video set, there's no telling the hours that you had to put into that to get it to that point.
I went through and did all the overlays with my name and titles and things. Yeah, it's just nuts. It was a lot. It's
so funny because right before you got here, I had a conversation with one of my clients. I'm going to Nashville to wrap a boat in a truck. Had a conversation with him about glue left behind on his truck after he removed his old wrap. And that whole thing that you just said, dude, I cannot explain to you how to clean this glue over a text message. Like,
it sounds like an easy process.
I can do that service for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Like, because how many hours I've spent cleaning glue, or somebody saying that they're going to clean glue behind, in front of me, and then I end up having to clean glue anyways because I know they didn't get it all.
Well, just as something as simple as saying like, okay, are you taking the mirrors off? Are you taking the handles off? Are you taking the lights off? Because if you're not, when you clean glue, you're going to clean to the edge.
Yeah.
And then when I pull the handles and mirrors and stuff off, there's just going to be glue there. I'm going to have to clean.
There's going to be glue. There's going to be chemical. There's
So it's like just leave.
I feel that.
Yeah.
But
leave it to the industry.
Yeah, to the industry. Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
So to make it clear, I'm not against people designing their own stuff, but I'm not out there promoting like I don't know that they are going to happen. Yeah. But I'm not interested in like, I want to create a scenario where it's so easy for just anybody to come and do it.
Sure.
And my goal is the wrap industry.
There's a fine line there.
There is.
There really is, and good for you to be able to be able to identify that, because the other market is a lot bigger, and they got chances are they got a lot more money.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, the support you would, like you said, that would turn into a full-time job. Just answering emails. It would be a headache. At least when, your local sign shop gets it, they've got a little bit of that.
They got a concept.
Yeah. They got ahead of that.
They know what to expect and to understand, and they have real expectations on me as well.
Sure.
So like when people buy something for $14 and then they want to have a 30-minute phone call with me, well, that's not worth it to me.
Yeah. It's cost you
my
more.
30 minutes is worth like $300.
Sure.
So why are you calling me for $14? I can't do that.
No. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, you got to be able to identify that, and that's cool. So that portfolio page, like that for you is the home run. That's the
I think so. And I'm surprised. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, this is where you need to go if you really want to see what I'm doing with the stuff and what you can do with the stuff. And then you'll just get the link directly there for the product if that's something you're interested in. So I'm saying all this to answer your question of like, how did Hot Wheels get connected to you through that? So they find my website in 2017. So I've already got the site up for 6-7 years. And he messages me on Facebook, the lead designer does, which I'm just like not having it because the lead designer at Hot Wheels doesn't message you on Facebook. Like, so I'm not thinking that that's who it is. He's like, hey, are you interested? And he doesn't say who he is or where he's from. He's like, are you interested in designing graphics for die-cast cars? And I'm like, oh, this is some dude in his garage coming up with some custom crap that like, and he wants me to do stuff for like $40 a pop. I'm like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really interested. That's what I said. But I just had like a wakeboard company message me the week before that wanting the same thing. Hey, we got these wakeboards. Can you like knock out some designs for $40? So I'm like thinking, okay, I'm in this like rut where like people are asking me to do things for $40.
Sure.
I'm not interested in doing anything for $40. I don't get out of my bed for $40.
Sure.
So I'm like, I'm telling him, no, I'm not really interested. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And because he's not saying who he is or where he's from, I'm just thinking it's not legit, you know?
Sure.
And so he kind of bugs me a little bit. And what he's really doing is he's testing my communication ability. He's seeing like, how does this guy communicate and what's he going to be like? So, because if he tells me straight up, it's Hot Wheels and this is the lead designer, he's going to get a positive response from me. So he needs to know like, is this guy a good communicator? And so he was testing me in that way. And so finally I was like, all right, well, shoot me some links. Tell me exactly what you do. And he's like, well, Google Hot Wheels. And I was like, okay. So I Google Hot Wheels, but my mind is so dull in that moment. I'm like, okay, so this guy's telling me he does cars like Hot Wheels in his garage. Like this is what I'm thinking in my mind. So I'm still kind of like, yeah, I'm not really interested.
I don't think that's a dull portion of your brain. I think any logical, sane person would lean that direction. Like, why would the lead designer for Hot Wheels be messaging me? Like, why would that be?
It wasn't processing in my brain at all. And so
you would have to think a lot of yourself if you know what I mean? Like, well, of course Hot Wheels is hitting me up. This makes, what took you so long?
So, exactly right. So I was like, so I messaged him and I was like, so you're telling me like what you do is like you create toy cars like Hot Wheels. He says, no, this is Hot Wheels. He's like, I want you to design graphics for Hot Wheels. We've been looking through your website and we see the things that you're creating and we think it's really awesome. And we want to bring you on board to our team. I was like, I went up, I immediately got up off my desk. I didn't even message him back right away. And I was like, babe, Hot Wheels just contacted me.
You start pacing the floor.
I was pacing, man. I was doing all kinds of things. And I tell my wife, she's like, are you being for real? I was like, no, I'm being for real. Like, this is really happening. And so I went back down and I was like, yeah, I'm interested. I want to do this. And it took like a month process to get me onboarded. Just get paperwork and all that kind of stuff figured out. And then after that, that's just what I've been doing since 2017, probably between 60 and 70 cars a year.
Would you ever have thought that putting the store up like that would open up opportunities like this for you, like working with Hot Wheels?
I didn't. I thought this would be my retirement. Like the site would be my retirement.
Even when you put that first bundle up, I mean, because I know that had to be like there. I think a lot of people have good ideas, and they have good intentions, but you could easily talk yourself out of doing something really cool like this, because you're looking at it and, like you even said it, you feel kind of dumb, like I'm just gonna put this one thing up on my website and that's just gonna be it, and people are gonna like. I just
respond.
In a positive way.
In a positive way.
Because they're going to respond.
Yeah.
They're going to get on the web.
Negative and positive.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe, I don't know. I would have assumed that it would, and I think most people would, right? Especially people listen to this, I think that, we've had the conversation before, right? Like, so it felt funny just putting just a knife tucker up on a website, right? Mm-hmm. Like you came all the way to this website for this one thing that's tough, but you did it and you just put it up there and you let it be. And not only, I would just be curious to, what do you think? How do you think that happened? How do you think, what went through your head to just like, let's just do it? Was it just see what happens or just speculate or?
Yeah. I think I saw the hole. I saw the opportunity. Like, I'm like, there was other vector libraries, but nobody was like hitting this particular niche. And I was like, there's a hole here. Like there's people out here doing this. I don't know how many. I think there's 300 dirt tracks in the United States. So let's say there's 20 modifieds at each one of those dirt tracks. how many race cars is that? So how many print companies are, you start doing the math in your mind.
Sure.
So, and how many of these people are doing it independently? And so then you begin to just think like, there's an opportunity here. But then you begin to, you second guess yourself. You're like, am I the guy to take advantage of this opportunity? Like, I don't even know. And when you get into an industry, any industry, and you start enabling competition, it does create a problem. Like, people are negative about it. They're like, why are you providing a thing for my competitor?
And you've somehow kind of like
figured out a way to balance it.
Yeah, mildly stayed in a not in a bad place with it. Like played safe, I guess. Humility is there's been people that have really made me mad. And have said awful things to me, and I think that's probably just true for every industry. That's just going to happen. There's going to be people that want to ruin your day, their day, whoever's day's in their way, whatever. I mean, there's one guy. If I go live on YouTube, he is the first one to comment to tell me like what I'm doing is wrong and why. Another designer?
I don't even know who he is.
Oh, okay.
Just same guy all the time. I'm like, it used to bug me a lot. Now I'm just like, this will just help me endure. Like, I'll just get better from this. And
you seem like a pretty resilient guy. You know what I mean?
I didn't used to be. That kind of stuff used to cave me in, man. I'd
really?
be like, I have like a love-hate relationship with social media and promoting myself. I'm pretty introverted. So I'm like, when I launch a product, I'm not excited to tell people about it, but I know I have to. So,
man, that's that's an interesting thing, dude.
It's a tension because you're like, hey, look at this thing I did. I think it's good enough to sell. And then somebody comes along and they're like, no, it's actually a piece of crap and it's purple. And we don't like purple. And so, and you got to live in that space that you're prepared to hear that every time you hit the send button. If you send out the newsletter, you got to be prepared to hear that. When you put something on Facebook or Insta, you got to be prepared to hear that. And it's better to be prepared than to be taken by surprise.
Sure.
And the first few times it did take me by surprise. I had a guy who I posted something immediately. Now I'll backtrack a little bit. It's always my aim to turn my enemy into a friend. Always. Okay. It's not always possible, but and mostly it comes by just not responding and not defending yourself. And I wasn't always good at this. I mean, you could probably go back into the archives of Facebook and find me defending something and saying something stupid that I shouldn't have said, and I'd probably regret it today. But I had a guy, I posted something and he was like, you don't buy from this guy. He's a hack. It's clip art. It's, he's going on and on and on. I'm just like floored. I'm like, I know who this guy is. Everybody knows who this guy is. He's pretty big in the industry. And, but I'm just going to opt to not defend myself. And I think I might have said one thing and then I let it go. I was like, I just got to let it go. And I was just like, I've got to figure out a way to turn these particular people into people that respect me. And I'm not going to do it by demanding it. I'm not going to do it by telling them how awesome I think I am or anything like that. I'm just going to let time be on my side. That same guy, maybe 7 years later, comes out on Facebook. He's like, everything I ever said about Ray Vanderlinden, I regret it. It was wrong. I see what he brings to the table. He brings a lot to the industry. Like, he just reversed everything he said. I didn't even say anything to him. And so I think we got to trust the process of just putting your head down, being humble, working hard, and bringing value. And when you do that, even the hardest person, I think, can turn. And I've experienced that 3-4 times where it's like the people that were my very enemies end up being people that are chatting with me during the day and being like, how you doing? How's your family? And but man, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of patience to get there. And you can't think about that person and try to motivate yourself from that person all the time. You got to be thinking about things that you love, like your family, or people that actually care about you, or people in the industry that you are helping. So I got multiple stories. I had one guy who was on the verge of committing suicide, and he was one of my clients. And I was just like, dude, we need to talk right now. And we had a conversation. It wasn't about race and graphics. It was something totally different. And it was just about life in general. It's so there's a commitment to people that we have to have that goes beyond what can I get from you and what can you get from me and what can we extract from one another. But how do we actually bring value into each other's lives so that when I'm creating a racing graphic, I'm not primarily thinking about getting dollars out of your pocket, but I'm actually thinking about how am I impacting your business and your life. And then they reciprocate that same thing. And that's a difficult place to get in, but that's where I think where businesses actually really thrive, because people begin to recognize, oh, there are people out there that actually care beyond just I'm in this because I have bills to pay, or I'm in this because I have a dream of owning a boat someday, which are all valid things. But we really have to legitimately care about people. And I think when you do that, that wins in business 100% of the time.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
100%. And I think it shows just in your stuff, and here you talk about it too. You're passionate about it. And that's, I think it's important. I don't think things like this last without it. I don't, like, I think it's a critical point. So you're still with Hot Wheels now, right?
Yep.
So how long have you been with them?
2017.
2017.
Independent contractor.
Yeah. And you love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
To answer your question that you asked me, you asked how they found me. They found me through the website.
Through the website.
Yeah. And they said it wasn't even actually your skill and ability at first. It was that we saw how organized you were. So having the website, being organized, and sensing that you were a good communicator and you like had systems in place, we knew that you would be somebody that was going to be good to work with.
Sure, you'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess, that's why the question is almost like, did you ever see that as a resume? And I think there's a lot of value there for people that are listening to remember the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like when we wrap a car, like when I get done, it's a piece of my resume, right? Like it's a piece of my business card. It's like, these are the things that people are going to remember. These are the things that are important to me. You can see it in my work.
Yeah.
You know what those things are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can see my attention to detail and patience and how I carry myself, and all that stuff is just, it lets people see in for a minute, like you want to know who this person is, watch them for a few minutes. And so the internet is a really cool place for that, because sure, you've got social media as its own thing, but I think good for them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of cool that they reached out to you. I don't know he messaged you through Racing Graphics, or you personally?
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, that's cool. I think that's neat.
He probably maybe anticipated I knew who he was, just because it says it on his profile that he works for Hot Wheels, but I just didn't know who he was.
Right. Yeah. How would you? I don't know who he is. Right. But I think that's cool. So with Hot Wheels, we started talking about this and we completely derailed. But I kind of wanted to catch up to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wanted to see, the challenge of working with Hot Wheels, right? It's got to be challenging, right?
Yeah.
It's it's not an easy thing.
No.
What's the stuff? What's the hard stuff?
I would say, one, making sure that you're doing enough to be doing something that's creative enough that it's unique, that it can be unique. Not every single design is going to be like a unique artistic piece, but you got to have your moments where like you're going to break out of your own box. And those moments are coming maybe every 5, 10, 15 cars.
Really, that soon?
Yeah. Yeah. Like all of them, they want you to care about all of them. So it's not like they send me like this one for kids and they're like, hey, just knock this out. Like just put some color on it. They're not
that's
like
kind of make you feel good that they care, that they care about them like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So for them, they're like, if I start kind of like just doing racing lines all over the place, they're like, hey, we need you to start thinking this through a little better. They care, and it matters. And I think it should matter. And so then I would say the second piece is just understanding the limitation of each car and where the decals can land, and knowing that it isn't just like for instance, this is a flame pack. So it isn't just I found some flames and I put them on there. We designed these flames unique to each car that gets flames. Like Hot Wheels is proud of their flames. So the first time I put flames on a car, I did grab a piece of clip art that I created from my website. I don't consider it clip art, but I grabbed something that was previously made and I slid it into a car and like kind of modified it a little bit. They're like, yeah, you can't take flames from something else and put it on one of our cars. You have to create these flames specific for that body every single time. And it has to fit around the wheel wells, and it has to be specific. So they're very specific about that. And
each one. Do they do the same car? Does that happen?
You mean the same casting in a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes so this car might be in a 5-pack, and then they might do what they call a basic, and that just means it's a 1-pack. Yeah. So they have 3-packs, 1-packs, 20-packs, 5-packs, and 5-packs and 1s are the most common. So I primarily dabble in the 5-packs. So if you go into Walmart, I would say probably 50% of them are ones that I've designed.
So when you're saying that, like, will this car ever be made with a different graphics package on it?
Yeah, that car will.
This particular one.
Every year they're going to take the cars that are popular and they're going to put new colors, new graphic packages and everything.
So you'll have templates for some of these.
Yeah. They send me the template.
The template for them. So I should say they'll have the template for them.
They do, yeah.
But then a lot of time, well, it doesn't really matter because once it gets to you, it's going to be a full custom thing anyway, right?
Yeah.
For that car. I guess there's no reason for you to have to go in and so kind of. I guess what I'm asking is like for the website, if somebody owns one of those kits, they can go in and they can just change that color and that's all they have to do. They're not asking you to just change these colors.
No, it's got to be new graphics every
time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this probably helps with that.
Yeah.
Right.
With the creative process.
With the creative process, right? Yeah. Because that's really the impressive. I mean, from my perspective, that's the impressive part is that you're doing all this stuff, that you're creating these things and that you're putting these things out there. Like from an artist standpoint, it's kind of blowing my mind really because like I said, I would have just assumed that wasn't the case. I don't know what. That's why I was looking forward to doing this because now I get to kind of see behind the curtain a little bit, and hopefully it'll be good for everybody else that your customers. Like I hope that they watch this and they can appreciate it a little bit more because the convenience and how streamlined it is and the pricing and everything. I think all that's great. If you don't know some of this behind it, you know what I mean? Like now it becomes more valuable. Now it's like, once they hear this, it's almost like it makes me wonder, like the people, I almost hope that people will say like, oh, well, he's not charging enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's
sometimes I feel like I should charge more. But
well, right. But there's a hard balance there, right?
Yeah,
like there's a tough balance because I'm sure that there's some of your customers that think that you charge way too much and they just don't have the right perspective. So I think telling the story and talking about it allows you to kind of really sink your teeth into like what we're talking about here. Like this isn't just a random graphics package that you stole from Aurora, right? Like this is like a legitimate full custom
every time.
Yeah. And that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's not easy. Yeah. You're doing it twofold, right? You're doing it for this and you're doing it for this. And that's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. It's exciting. I think the stuff that goes into this, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't even know where to begin on. So we talked about what was hard. What brings you the most joy about this?
They will send me samples and I get to open it with my kids. And there's like, I don't know, maybe like 40, 50 cars in there of just things that I've designed and just seeing my own designs on the cars for the first time. And watching my kids just open them and love it and play with them. And then being in the store and like seeing it hanging there.
Yeah.
It's a moment of pride, no matter how many times I've done it. It's like when you're standing in the store, we got these today at Target and I'm standing in the store. There's like all these people.
You bought these today?
Yeah.
How funny is that? That's funny as hell. Yeah. And all these are yours.
Yeah. There was other ones there, but there was particular ones I was looking for. And there was a race pack that I did that wasn't there. It was a dirt track racing pack that I was trying to find, but it wasn't there.
Yeah, that's cool.
But anyway, and then like seeing people, being in the store and seeing people pick through them and like being like, this is awesome or these are good. And there was one time where I told a guy like, yeah, I designed this pack and it was one of those instances where they're like, all right, you're on drugs, man.
All right, crazy man.
I was like, this is my last time telling anybody that I've done any of this.
How many do you think of these do you do a year?
I would say maybe 60 or 70.
60 or 70.
Yeah, I want to say my car count from 2017 to now is like 420 something.
Now the collector group or the people that are super into these, do you collect it all?
Just the ones they give me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing I told you about earlier, like not living in the past.
Living in the past. Yeah.
I'm like, I used to have like I used to have a bunch of those diecast cars like that. But back when it was like Earnhardt, Waltrip,
sure,
Labonte, I still have them. They're sitting in my attic somewhere, but there's something about looking at something from my past that like, maybe this is like something I need to get through, but I like look at my past and I'm like, I don't want to think about that, and so it's the same thing with like collector's items too. It's like when I look at it, it's like, I don't know, it provokes something in me where I'm like, the things that motivate me are all more like future. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just how my own inner voice and dialogue is working.
Yeah. I've never been I say that I've had knickknacks, things that like I've kind of inherited or like picked up here or there that are meaningful, but it used to be a very select few. You know what I mean? Like I had like this Alvin and the Chipmunks doll that my grandmother got me.
Oh yeah,
you know
man.
what I mean? And some records, and that was pretty much the extent of everything else. I could just about take it or leave. There was a couple other little things, but those were the big ones. And just since, you know, I'm starting to kind of morph more into this like training role and taking distribution a little bit more serious. And it's like, there's something about having these things close now that just like, there's something about it that's meaningful. You know what I mean? Like it is strange. I'll tell you that. Like it's a strange thing to like go from not doing it like very minimal to now it's like now when I come in here, and some of it's the space too, right? Like the space is really good for me. Like I like it in here, and
it's a vibe. Yeah,
thanks. But I enjoy it. You know what I mean? So like having some of this stuff here is just like it's
absolutely
cool, you know, it's kind of cool. So these will be here forever.
Awesome.
For as long as this is here.
Awesome.
This is awesome. I really appreciate this, and I'm excited about it. I feel like there's more that I need to ask. Like you're a very interesting person.
Oh, thank you.
You really are. And like I already said it, but I really do appreciate you coming on and doing it. I think the website is awesome. I think this is awesome. I'm excited to see where it goes. Is that something that, I mean, we haven't really talked about. It's funny because you're not one to live in the past, and this pretty much just been all past stuff. Yeah. So I would be curious to what the future looks like for you. Like when you think about the future, like where, and we can do it both ways. We can talk about on the Hot Wheel side, and I would really be interested to see what that looks like in the School of Racing Graphics looks like in the future as well. Yeah,
I've had ideas, I think, for the future that I've maybe put on hold as far as the SRGFX stuff that I started dabbling in, and then I was like, you know, this is not really going the direction I want, and I do keep my cards like close to my chest of like what I want to do and what I'm actually doing. Sure. And I don't like to like tell people I'm doing a thing if I'm not either close to finishing it or deep into the process of it. One, you just don't want to tell what you're doing because you don't want somebody else to come along and do it. Right. Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing is you want to be honest with yourself. I'm like, hey, if I'm telling people I'm doing this, I actually have to do it. But I think more so even than like the website or Hot Wheels, the most important thing to me is just like family and like being the motivator for everything. You know, when I think of like happiness, and I think like happiness and like we all want to be happy, right? Happiness is like, to me, is like smoke. It's like you can see it, but you can't grab it. You know, it's like 1 minute you do have it and it's in your proximity, and the next minute it's gone. And so I'm always thinking of those two words, happiness and fulfillment. And I think what I want to be is fulfilled, and in that I will find happiness. And this partially fulfills me, like in that part of me that like going back to the dirt modified story of the guy wiping the clay off the hood scoop, and just like from my childhood, I've loved racing and I've wanted to be in this industry, and now I am, and like I know what it feels like, and
you're a real part of it.
Yeah, real part of it.
You know what I mean? Like I know professional guys that are buying, like people that do this for a living, that this is their life. Yeah. And they're buying stuff from you. I mean, you made an impact. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. So just looking back at that, and I'm like, it partially fulfills what I want. But now I'm thinking more of like, you know, I'm 43, got a 13-year-old, 10-year-old, all three. I got 3 sons, 13, 10, and 7. And like, I want to build and craft a life with them that when they think of me, they think of me being present. They think of me being active with them and being at home with them. Like, you know, I'll be down there jamming out on some Hot Wheels cars, and I'm busy. I've got like things I got to get done. And my youngest will be like, dude, you coming out to play football? And I'm like, yes, I'm coming to play football, you know? And so, you know, I work from home. Like I do this out of my home office. And so I have that luxury, and I don't have to like get in a car and drive 20 minutes to go see my family or anything. And so, and it's hard, man. You said it earlier. It's like, it's a grind. There's a demand, you know, there's other people that will come and take your space too. And that's a real thing. Oh yeah. And so, but there's that element of like, my kids are not going to interpret my paychecks as love. They're just not. And, you know, one day I don't want my kids to come and be like, where can I trade all your pay stubs in for like you missing my games or whatever I was going on. And that conviction sits with me really heavy. And there's times when I do miss stuff. I'm not saying I don't miss things, and I'm not saying I stop work every day at 5 o'clock. I don't. Yep. That would be a lie if I said that. But that's my conviction. It's like they have to remember that like I was there, I was present, I had a smile on my face, I was invested in what they were doing. Because the vision that I have for my life is actually, I want that when my kids are adults and they have kids, that they come to my house and they bring their kids with, and that's how we spend time as a family.
Sure, they still think you're cool.
Yeah, they still think I'm cool, and they want to be
right
with
now.
me.
You're the Hot Wheels dad. And you're there, and
That's right.
Like you're you feed them, right?
Yeah.
So you're relevant.
I'm relevant for now,
right? Yeah.
But that they're going to be in their late teens and 20s, and then they're going to get into that space where they're like, I want to do my own thing, and I've got my own thing going on. But I think that I want to have. I'm thinking that and working backwards instead of trying to work from where I'm at right now and thinking where I want to be in the future. I'm thinking that's my end goal. What am I doing now to get there?
If you don't mind me asking, where does that come from? Because I'm super fortunate still.
Yeah.
I've got fantastic parents. They love me to a fault, right?
Yeah.
Like I grew up with thinking that I was the best thing in the world. Still times I do. I still think that I'm pretty awesome. But like it was just like I've been so like I'm close to both my parents and no doubt they love me and I love them and I'm very thankful for the relationship that I have with them. I think that impacts me as a father and a husband and all the above, good, bad, or indifferent, right? So a lot of that inspiration for me personally comes from that. Where do you think that comes for you? Because that's what you're talking is pretty strong, and you seem very passionate about it.
Yeah, I would say it comes from a couple of different places. Growing up in school, I was like the runt. I was bullied and rejected, and felt a lot of things, and just went through a lot of things, and and I think you can't prevent necessarily all of that for your kids, and I know that. But if I can be present in those difficult times for my kids. And just help be the resolution that they need. That like I'm going to be here. Sure. I'm not going to be absent now, and I don't want to be absent later. I think I see too many, and I've witnessed this, is too many families fall apart. Mostly, I think because of dads, and not because they're not working hard, and not because they're bad guys. It's because they actually are going so far that they're absent. And they're interpreting it as like, my kids will know I love them because I'm working for them. And there's an element of that, like that's a conviction we all have to live with. Like, I have to work. Like, I'm not going to be derelict. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to work my butt off. And it is going to be because I love my family. And then, but there's the other element too, where it's like, my dad was just never around because like, when I think of my dad, I think of him as like either working or just not being around. And I think it does intense damage on families. And, just speaking out of my own place, my dad always worked second shift. So hardworking guy, love my dad. He's awesome. Yeah. So he was a great guy, worked really hard. As a kid, I hardly saw him. Sure. He was a plumber on second shift working for Harmony Plumbing in a nuclear, I don't even know what you call it, nuclear plant. Sure. And so, you go through 5-6 years of your dad, it's like you get home from school, but your dad's already at work. Right. And then by the time you go to bed, he's getting home. So it's like you just don't see it. Yeah. And, I ended up racing later. Me and my dad shared a race car, and we built our relationship more then as I got older in my early 20s. And it really helped like that relationship turn a totally different direction. Not that my dad ever did anything wrong or bad. Sure. You've got your duty as the man of the house to do particular things.
100%. Different time too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, that's the way it was. Those blue collar workers, they put their nose down, they went to work, and they got stuff done. So
it was his duty to do that, and so and I respect him for that. And you
for sure,
2020, you see that so much more clear as an adult. As a kid, you don't know how to interpret any of that. Right. So now I have the luxury of having that conviction and being able to live it out because I work for myself and I have a job where I can set my hours and things like that. So with that at my disposal, I want to take advantage and man, I could work from 5 until 7 every night and make a few extra, couple $100 or whatever. And it's like, I can make that couple $100 tomorrow, and that doesn't say that. I'm not saying that to say like some nights I do that, or some nights they go to bed and then I get back on the computer and I'm like, I'm back at it jamming, whatever. But I just think it's so important for fathers to be present for their kids. And that's what raises up healthy families. That's what raises up healthy futures. So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you answering that because I got a little personal there, but I think it's important. I think this is awesome. I was super excited. You're everything and more that I was hoping for this podcast. Dude,
Thanks,
this is great. You showed us a little bit, before and after, and even the future. And so, yeah, I want to say this, just so you know, I think that I don't know if this speaks more about you or Hot Wheels or kind of both. Hopefully you all take it that way. I think that it's awesome that you're the guy. I think that you are a fantastic fit for this.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You know what I mean? I really do. And the fact that they found you and have you, and it doesn't sound like you have any plans on going anywhere.
No.
And not only that, but you're taking all this that you've learned and you're making it available for other people to go down the same path you did, but make it easier for them. I think is very, very cool. I'm excited. I really think, I really hope that people getting this perspective will kind of shed some very positive light on what you're doing, dude. I think this is very cool. So this probably isn't good for me, right? Because now these Hot Wheels are going to just become that much cooler. Not that I need any more knickknacks, but dude, I just think this is awesome. I think that you're the right person for this.
Oh, thank you so much.
And that makes me feel good. You know what I mean? It really, it's meaningful. And this time, this day and age, this world where you get the wrong people, like I worry about it all the time. Like I'll get on a flight and I'm like, man, I really hope that dude likes his job. I really hope he was hired because he is the best for this job and not for some crazy other reason.
That's good.
You know what I mean? And so I'm not going to say that this is going to be the case in everything, but I think it's awesome. I really do.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I like I said, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in and sharing all this. I do, just so people know what's the best way to follow you on social media, and we'll just say the website one more time, just to make sure everybody knows it. So go ahead.
So you can go to schoolofracinggraphics.com. That's the website. I have a Facebook group. I have to let you in. It's just School of Racing Graphics. That's a group. We're in there. Just people are helping anybody if you got file trouble or looking for something particular. And I put some design tips in there once in a while. So that you just look for the group School of Racing Graphics on
that's
Facebook.
Pretty active.
It's pretty active. It's got a lot of people in it.
Yep. Are you putting stuff in there from the website as far as like updates or? I guess you got an email list, right? So
I have the email list. That's the tension I live in. Is like I create this group and then like I don't want to manipulate the group and be like just keep buying my product. I want to be helpful. Yeah. So it was like I have such a weird relationship with social media. It's like I want to tell you, but I don't want to. It's like anyway. And then
a lot of that business is that, right? Like you can't give it all away, right? Like
that's right. Yeah. So and then Instagram, School of Racing Graphics, basically anything School of Racing Graphics, you're going to find me. And then I'm just Ray Vanderlinden on Facebook, and that's all pretty personal stuff. But I'll be friends with anybody. So
awesome. And then and YouTube, so you're doing some videos on YouTube as well.
You just go School of Racing Graphics on YouTube, just search it. I have it on the website. It's also in the group, and that's another thing. I'm kind of like. You were talking about the future. I'm like pushing into it a little bit here and there, but I'm not putting a lot of energy into it right now. Yeah.
Into the future?
Into the YouTube channel.
Into YouTube stuff. Yeah. Sure. So, well, no, if they want your content, they can get on the website and they can pay for the class. It sounds like they're getting, in my opinion, a great bang for the buck. So
yeah.
Definitely take advantage of it. Ray, thank you again. It's been awesome. Great episode. I hope you enjoy your time in North Carolina.
I will.
All right, cool.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Lambert, we good?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. All right, let's go.